Yes. How's everyone doing? Been a bit of an hiatus. It feels like forever. I hope everybody's doing well. I welcome to the stream. We're on again, and I just wanted to welcome everyone. And just wanted to say that yeah, the last couple of weeks I've been traveling. This great country of Canada. And yeah, so I was not able to stream. But be that as it may, I hope everyone is doing well amidst this crazy time, this pandemic. I got asked for some cars to go into a restaurant the other day. It's crazy times, man. It's crazy times. But be that as it may, I just wanted to welcome everyone to the stream. I wanted to say, hope everyone is doing well. Hope the summer is treating you well. Summer's on its way out where I'm at, so just wanted to wish everyone well. I've been actually wanted to share this with everyone. I've been I don't want to say active, but I've been on Clubhouse these days. Feels like getting to know our people on Clubhouse, and it's a good time actually. I think I'm going to do a stream dedicated to that strictly, and speak about the kind of hot topics and how hot topics are coming, becoming more and more rampant on Clubhouse, and people are actually getting to know each other. And I'm finding that it's engaging and getting people to to talk to each other, whereas they wouldn't you as usual, right? So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just want to say I'm truly enjoying it, and it's a good time. Galjire Sodo, how you doing, brother? How you doing? Good to see you, bro. But today I am going to talk about something that I think has bearing on my mind actually, because ever since I like to say woken up to to the fallacy of religion as a whole, and more specifically Islam. I've always had this question about what do you call it, objective morality. Objective morality is something that would always come up in discussions, and okay, so how do we deal with that? How do we kind of make sense of it? How do we make and entail of this, and how do we discuss it in a way where everybody can actually understand, right? In a way where, because when a religious person says, okay, this is all good and dandy that you feel this way, but what are you using as your, what's your yardstick? What's the yardstick you're using? What is the actual objective thing that you're actually using, right? And my good friend Abdullah Samir actually did a great rendition on this. He did a nice episode on this that and I wanted to, after I watched that episode, I reached out to him and I said, we need to have a conversation about this, because it's actually something that I've been wanting to talk about, right? And he's been gracious enough to come and have a chat with us. So without further ado, let me welcome my dear friend Abdullah Samir to the stream. Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
the friendly ex-Muslim. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a little bit running late, so I'm just setting up my
Oh,
camera
yeah,
here.
take your time. Take your time. I'm just basically letting people know what's up, and what we're going to be discussing, and how we're
Okay.
going to be discussing. So not a problem, bro. Take your time. Take your time. Hope you're good, man. Are you good? Everybody's good, yeah.
Yes, I'm
That's
wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just saying, like the other day, I was going into a restaurant and I got asked for for proof that I'm healthy. I thought it was funny. So, so yeah, I'm just gonna be candid about this and tell you that one of the things that actually, ever since I left Islam, right, one of the things that would always come back to me is because you'll have conversations with Muslims, and they're like, okay, well, that's great that you feel like this, but what are you using as a yardstick, right? Well, what are you using, and what makes that the thing? What objective thing that are you using to say these things, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you, Abdullah. I would always have a bit of a I would always have a little bit of a tinkle in my brain. I'm like, well, it's true. What am I using? What is it that I'm using? And I would have this conversation within my own head, and that's why the last it wasn't the last one actually. You did a lot of them, but was it last week? I
That
think
was
it
the
was
last. It was the last like prepared video I made. Yeah, that
right.
was the
And
last one.
that last video, and I was watching it, and I'm like, yes. Though I found myself saying yes the whole time, because what you made me realize is that there is no such thing. This yardstick that they're actually holding on to, or that they're saying they have, doesn't really exist. So that really opened up my eyes. So I wanted to kind of talk to you about this and say, I'm guessing you had the same questions that I had. You just did the research and actually went into it, but you had the same questions. So how did you come about that? And was that a question that you were asking yourself as well?
So yeah, this is something that I think if it wasn't for theists, it
Yeah.
probably not ever come up, because I think instinctively you just have an idea about what you believe in and what you don't. What I mean is, instinctively we know what right and wrong are. There's a biological basis for that, even, right? I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, I think Muslims want to sort of play this slippery slope game where it's like, well, how do you know they're not gonna legalize? And they mention all of these like crazy things, right?
Right.
And the funny thing is, if that was the case, well, we should see that already, because there are atheistic societies like Iceland and Sweden, and they have a lot of atheists, but they don't have those like horrible scenarios that these people are calling for. In fact, these
Hmm.
societies are quite happy, they're doing well, they're thriving. And so it's something that comes up, I think, again and again. But I'd say in the real world, outside of the debating and the philosophy, it's probably not something people really wonder that much, because unless you care about these things, unless you care about ethics and meta ethics, and
Hmm.
you want to study like what makes something right and wrong, then definitely it's very interesting. But it's also a kind of niche topic that maybe not everyone is interested in.
Right, maybe not, but I think it's almost as like it gets to you to a point where you actually have to ask these questions, right? And you have to say like, okay, well, what am I using as the CRC? As if we almost think that we need to have one, as if slavery wasn't just legal that long ago, as if sex slavery wasn't legal, as if injustices are not keep happening and legalized. So
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. I think we don't realize that, many of us don't realize that we're far better off today than most people were. You know, our societies today are far more. I don't want to say righteous. It sounds funny,
Hmm.
but far more moral than
Hmm.
like previous societies. Like way
Right.
better. Like we care more about women's rights, children's rights,
Hmm.
animal rights.
Hmm.
Right. We actually have rights today that never existed like 1,000 years ago. For example,
Well,
marital rape. There
right.
is no such thing as marital rape in most religious textbooks. Never mind, even rape is not even mentioned.
Right.
So, but marital rape, that's like unheard of until recently. This is like, well, she's your wife, she's your
How
property.
can
Like,
you rape her? Yeah.
how can you rape her? Like, that's her
Yeah.
duty, right? It kind of
Yeah.
like, so and I think one of the books that really opened up my mind to this
Hmm.
was Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker.
Okay.
And he does a phenomenal job. The book is like, it's a very, very long book.
Okay.
I listened to the audio version, but it's a very long audio book compared to like typical books,
Right.
10 hours. This one was like, I think 30 hours or something. It was like extreme. I don't even remember if I finished it, but
Okay.
he lays it down. He lays down how, this comes about, how we've improved. He gives examples like the middle lip example as well. So I lean heavily on his work. I think he did a phenomenal job
What's
on
the
this. And
name
I
of the
know
book, Abdullah? What's the name of the book?
Better Angels of Our Nature.
Better Angels.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
And
think that's it.
What's his
Better
name?
Angels. Steven Pinker.
Oh, yeah, Steven.
Yeah, the book is Better Angels of Our Nature, Why Violence Has Declined. Now, some people think he's a little bit naive and he over exaggerates how good life is now.
Hmm.
But the fact is, there's a lot of data. There's a lot of data that shows that even like wars, there's far less there's far less death even in wars nowadays than there used to be, because I mean, yes, we do have like weapons of mass destruction and we can
Hmm.
actually, we can do something horribly wrong and maybe wipe out all of humanity in one go, just like that, right?
Right.
But at the same time, the nature of the wars have been more limited now than previously, and he has data as well to show this. He shows that the amount of deaths that used to occur in a society
Hmm.
was way more without a centralized government, and he calls this a Leviathan theory. So
Okay.
basically, he shows how in like farming, in small farms, there is no law. You just have a gun, a shotgun, right? And you're like, get
Right.
off my land, right? Or I'll
Yeah.
shoot
Yeah.
you, kind of.
Yeah.
And in a situation like that, there's far more violence.
Okay.
People
Yes.
will try to take your land, take your goats, or the goats or sheep will come on you. So there was so much more violent. But now when you have a centralized government, and sometimes the government could be like a bad government too. It could be like
Hmm.
Saddam Hussein type government, a dictatorship. But
Yeah.
even with a dictatorship, usually you lose a lot of freedom, but in return you get stability. So with a good democracy, a stable democracy, and a stable dictatorship, those are the most peaceful societies. And in
Okay.
between unstable democracy, unstable, um, you know, dictatorship, those are when there's like chaos and like a lot of fighting and killing, and So I think overall, our lives are far better off than how they used to be. I think we're doing so much better off as a humanity overall. And
Hmm.
theists, I think, don't like to acknowledge this because they want to keep, because if they don't want to acknowledge this because there's less people being religious today,
Yes.
right? Yet
So
things
it kind
seem to
of
be
goes
getting
against
better.
their, yeah, it goes against everything they believe.
So
If they,
either
yeah, yeah,
one of two things: either things are actually worse, that's what they want to claim,
yeah.
or maybe those religions are not helping us, right? So it's one of those two options. Which one is it, right?
Neither of which they want, right? Those
Yeah,
are two bad options for them, right? So I
yeah.
want to talk about like in within that, and you're right. I think as a whole, society in the world has become, um, I mean, morality is one thing, but just far became better, right? It just became better, and for the as a whole, what changes that? What do you think shifts that? What do you think makes us okay with slavery in one era, and completely revile it and kind of completely reject it in another era? What do you think happens?
So he does talk about this in the book, and I think this is part of the growth of humanity.
Hmm.
This is our growth. We are growing, and he gives the example of World War II. It was after, I believe, World War II that the Universal Declaration. Oh, is my voice low? Hold on one
I'm
second.
hearing you fine, but Coco said that she's saying that it's a little bit low.
Okay,
Anyways,
I'll take a look at that. Yeah,
yeah.
so the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Maybe I need to sit up more. My microphone's above my head. The
Uh,
Universal Declaration of Human Rights was came about after after we saw that, for example, what happened, like how bad it can get, how the Jews were targeted simply because they were Jewish, right?
mhm.
Um, and so after that, we agreed, as almost like all the nations together worked on this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that all of us together will not target someone for the race, for the gender, for the sexuality, for the color of this, for anything, right?
Right.
For whatever reason, we will not target people. Everyone should have the same rights, no matter what they are, right?
Hmm.
And there's a beautiful thought experiment
Okay.
that we can think of. I'm trying to remember what it's called now, but it's basically, um, you let's say you have two kids, right?
Hmm.
It's like, I'm gonna simplify. So, and the kids want to, they want to fight over who gets more cake, right? So
Hmm.
the solution to this is, and they're fighting over who gets to cut the slices. So you tell one of the kids, okay, you get to cut the slices, but the other guy gets to choose which slice he gets.
Mm. Yeah. So that keeps everyone fair.
Yeah, and there's a thought experiment like this. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, it's called the veil of ignorance.
Okay.
The whale of ignorance is a thought experiment that you are the one making the laws, but you want to make the laws so that you don't know,
Hmm.
assuming you don't know who you're going to be born as. So you could be
Okay.
born, let's say you have a law in Islamic law that dhimmis have
Hmm.
to pay jizya, that they're, humiliated by paying this jizya, that they don't have the same freedoms, and so on and so forth, right?
Right.
But if you make that law, you might be born as a dhimmi. Would you still make that law? Of course you wouldn't,
You
right?
you would think twice. Yes. Yeah. You
Yeah,
don't
so
want that. Yes.
it's like the cake, right? You're gonna make
Right.
the cake fair because you don't know, am I gonna be this guy? Am I gonna be? And that's a really good way of looking at how morality should be built, and it's instinctive, right? It's
Right.
like it's easy to understand, like instinctively, what's fair, what's not fair, what's right, what's wrong. We can come up with laws that make sense because the golden rule. I think everybody knows the golden rule. Everybody agrees with the golden rule. How can you not agree with that, right? You don't need
Which is
religion.
treat others the way you want to be treated. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that golden rule goes across all of these, religions or thoughts. Right. So yeah, that's the golden rule. So how do you keep? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what is the yardstick, right? And that question keeps coming back up because it's resurfacing. Sorry, there's a dog in the neighborhood. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but
No, I can't hear them.
okay, perfect. So how do we, like, in terms of going, in terms of applying that golden rule? The golden rule hasn't changed, but our morality as, yeah, as a species has changed, has evolved. So how do
Yeah.
we?
So the basis is, w- if you ask different people, they're going to tell you different things. So let's say we ask a theist, a Muslim, or a Christian. Let's ask a Christian.
Right.
Many Christians may say the basis of my morality is what the Bible says. So the
Hmm.
Bible decides morality. So then we come up with a problem with that sort of thinking, which is, okay, what if, let's not even say Bible, because if you say Bible, then they have to defend the Bible. Let's just say God.
Right.
God said, whatever God says,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
And then you come up with a problem. The problem is, okay, what if God said do something bad? What if God said you have to kill your firstborn son if he's born on the 10th of the month?
Right.
Okay, so there's some rule, weird rule. Don't I mean this
The
kind of
10th
getting
of
into
the
like
month.
Abraham.
Right. It's very trivial, but yeah. Okay, I hear you.
But if he's born on a specific day
Hmm.
and it's a boy, you
Hmm.
have to sacrifice him to God. I mean,
Okay.
this is not unheard of. Like
No.
human sacrifice is something that existed in reality.
Right.
It's not joke. People did that actually, right? So, but let's say this God said this. Now you ask anyone,
Mhm.
is this moral? God said it.
Yeah.
Does that make it good? I think everyone would have a tough time to say that this is a good thing. How could it be a good thing? Nobody would agree this is a good thing. It's
Right.
just like, so now what is good? What is good?
Hmm.
It's not what God says apparently, because if God says something that can't be good, because
Right.
so we understand that there is something out there that we can define. So all of us, I think, when we define good and bad, we're defining it in a certain way, which is the way Sam Harris puts it.
Hmm.
In a world of rocks and trees, there would be no consciousness and there's no morality. In a world where there is consciousness, a world where people exist,
Hmm.
animals, and this consciousness, then there is an issue where we do need to care, and the caring comes from the consciousness. So human thriving and
Hmm.
reducing human suffering, those two things are the basis of my morality. So under secular humanism is all about helping humans, and by extension every living creature thrive, right?
Hmm.
It says in the comments, people will say eating meat is immoral. Okay, there you go, Coco Jasmine. Yeah, that's a good point. And I so I agree with this in a sense. Okay, I don't
Hmm.
want to. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not like I'm not.
Hmm.
I'm not sitting on a chair because I eat meat myself. Okay,
Hmm.
but I'm saying from an ethical perspective, how can you justify eating animals when you know that when you eat those animals, there's going to be suffering involved? Like you are, especially if you look at the modern factory farming processes, it's full of cruelty. Let's
Right.
say you get rid of all the cruelty, you are still raising a bunch of animals that you're gonna slaughter. You taking, they're gonna eventually, and Are they? Is that existence a good existence for them?
Hmm.
An easy way to look at it is if I was an animal and some alien species came and decided to take us as slaves, would I be okay with being eaten?
Hell no.
Like, I probably
Don't
not, right?
please don't eat me. Yeah.
Yeah, so the same thing with animals, I think. I mean, I'd say, like, I'm looking forward to a post meat world, a world where we have lab meat, where we can grow meat, because we've
Hmm.
evolved to eat meat. So there's
Right.
no, like, that craving is there, right? That it's hard to get rid of that. So you can be I think veganism is ethically superior. I'm not vegan, but I wouldn't argue against it because I think it makes sense.
Hmm.
However, I do think that, ethical lab meat is the best option, because then you can eat real meat, but there's no suffering. So I think
Right.
that's kind of like a good middle ground. And if you want to have animals, then you can have animals as pets. I mean, pigs could be pets.
Yeah.
Dogs, obviously, we don't eat dogs, right?
No.
Some animals, we're getting into a debate on veganism now. I don't know if that's where you want to
No, no,
go,
no,
but
no. But I mean it's a good point though, because it kind of shows the frivolousness of it all sometimes, right? Because I have friends like that, they have dogs as pets, and then they'll see somewhere in the world where dogs are being eaten, and I see them saying, "How could they do that?" And then I'm
yeah,
like, "Well, if you go to India, people might look at you eating a cow the same
yeah,
way.
yeah.
So what makes you right and makes them wrong, right?"
Yeah,
And this
eating
is
a
the
burger is like, what's this? How dare they eat meat, those dogs? It's like,
exactly. So it's kind of like I kind of understood the frivolousness of it all, and I want to kind of get to the bottom of it. If there is, I think it's bottomless, but I want to get to a point where I'm basically saying, okay, well, this is the yardstick that we're using, right? And the golden rule keeps coming back up.
yeah.
Do unto others as you want them to do unto you. That's a golden rule. Yet and
So
still, yeah. Go ahead.
so I don't think there is an absolute bottom to this. That's the problem, and that's what theists want to claim that they've solved. They want to claim they've solved it by having an absolute objective morality. I
Hmm.
shouldn't say absolute. It's not
Hmm.
absolute. It's objective. Excuse me. But the reality is, even their morality is actually subjective, because, like, we've already discussed that, like, if God exists, he would still have to be, either you're going by what he wants,
Hmm.
and then that's just divine command theory. You're just going by what God commands, which is, again, it can't be moral, because obviously we've given an example of that. Euthyphro's dilemma goes through this. It's an ancient, I don't know, 4,000 year old or something like that, dialogue by, I believe, Plato or
Okay.
Socrates, Plato. And he asks this question about what makes right and wrong, and, is it because the gods, is it good because the gods love it,
Hmm.
or is it loved by the gods because it's good? So which one is it, right?
Ah.
And when we talk about eating meat,
Hmm.
I would say, even the Quran says this, like, if you're compelled, you can eat pork. Like, if you have no choice, you're gonna die. So the Quran's also making exceptions. So I would say, like, obviously, as part of a history of humanity, we got to where we are because of eating meat. The question is, can we do without it now? So I think, that's a good example to look at. Like, let's say we were living in a society where we need to eat meat to survive, right? Then I would say that we do what we need to do to survive. And of course, we're putting ourselves first above the animals.
Hmm.
We're prioritizing ourselves, but it's relative, right? There's no way around that. Either we're gonna you have to make a calculation on the basis of something. That
Hmm.
something is never going to be universal or automatically objective, because we can make objective calculations based on a subjective basis. So if our subjective basis is to reduce suffering and
Hmm.
to increase thriving, somebody left a comment on my YouTube video. He said, "Oh, you're saying reducing suffering is a goal. So then, what about this? We just kill everybody. No more suffering, right? Problem solved, right?" But that doesn't increase thriving, though, right? That
Right.
that
Right.
reduces suffering. But people like to exist.
That was
I
a
like to
nihilist
exist.
that said that.
I
Jeez.
think it was a theist that was trying to say that, you didn't solve the problem, and there is no real solution to this. It's, you have to choose a basis,
Right.
and so what's a better basis than, human thriving, and human and reducing, and not just human, but I'd say all sentient beings, right?
Right. Right. So one of the things that you had covered, and I want to kind of bring it back to how Islam sees objective morality, right? One of the things that you had mentioned is why. Actually, I chuckled when I heard it. I was like, you said, why is it that why is it okay to marry one's cousin but not marry one sister in suckling? Do you want to go into that a little bit and kind of, because I think it was a great point. That's a
Yeah.
great point, right? So yeah, I'll
Yeah.
let you delve into it a little bit.
Yeah. So, I wish I was more knowledgeable on and had more time to dig into these things. I'd really love to know
Right,
why Muhammad thought that this is a bad thing, because there's obviously some cultural reference here that we're
right,
missing, right? Like
right,
what,
right.
like what is this? Like sister and suckling? That doesn't even exist today. But if it did, I mean, there are wet nurses to this day. They still exist. You can go to some. I think in the U.S. there are businesses that like you can actually
Pay
pay
someone
someone.
to.
Yeah, you
Oh
can buy
wow.
breast milk from that person. I don't know if they actually, I don't think they actually suckle the baby, but they'll give you breast milk, like
Okay.
real breast milk. So you're not formula, which is like real breast milk is superior to
Oh,
formula for sure. There's
yes.
no debate about that.
Right.
How, assuming the mom is healthy, we're not talking about third world or something where there's sickness. We're talking about a healthy mom,
Yeah.
obviously. And even if she's not healthy, I think there's still advantages, unless depending on the type
There's
of
a lot of
sickness she has.
antibodies that come with that. So yes, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
meant for
So
it. This nature is meant for it. Yeah.
exactly, right? It's
Yeah.
like, how do you beat nature? In this case, you can't, right?
That's it.
So um if I was one of the recipients of this breast milk, from this lady,
Hmm.
and then it turns out my wife was also a recipient of this breast milk, now I have to divorce her, right? And Muhammad actually commanded some guy to divorce his wife when they found out. Some lady, it'd be funny as a practical joke. It's like, I breastfed, you don't like some lady, and or you want to, you have a fight with those two people. You're like, I breastfed both of you, and it's like, divorced. You have to be divorced now. It's like,
On the spot.
it's like, okay, it's over. She's my sister now, right? Oh my god, I've been married to my sister.
That's
It's like,
even
your sister. She's like, my wife is white and I'm brown. How is she my sister? Like,
that's
our
like
DNA is totally different.
that's like talak on steroids, right? Like,
So I don't even know.
yeah.
Like, I don't even know what's the proof. Like, how
Mhm.
do you prove this? Like, how
Yeah.
could you prove this?
I don't think you can
You have a
actually.
record, like a book,
I don't think you
on
can.
August 24th, year of the camel. I,
You're
I
the camel.
breastfed. I breastfed Muhammad bin Abu Abdullah bin Abu Salam and Zainab bin Jaksh. Oh, okay, you guys.
You guys can't get married.
And
Yeah,
this
you
is in the
good.
Quran,
I know.
right? Like, people try to say that it's the Hadith that's bad,
Hmm.
but the Quran itself reflects Muhammad's 7th century values.
Of course, yeah. The seventh century Arabic ways of things, all the way down to the way they have sex. You know what I mean? All the way down to all their, and that became global, and that's why I always say this is just exporting. It's Arab supremacy to a certain extent because it's just basically saying this is the only way to do things.
I
Well,
want to share
no,
my screen for 1 second.
go ahead, go ahead.
I do have one of my ex-Muslim friends actually shared this with me, and he said this is possibly one of the theories, or maybe one of the reasons why Muhammad thought like this.
Hmm.
They used to believe in this thing called humanism, that like bodily fluids affect genetics or something like that.
Okay.
So there probably was some sort of belief like this that existed back then, right? That
Hmm.
that if you have, like, if you drink someone's milk, you are now connected to them by somehow,
Somehow, yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Okay.
this is maybe one. I don't know, like, if that makes sense or not, but
It
like,
does. It
there
does.
was
Yeah.
something. There was something for sure. If it's not the humanism,
Hmm.
then there was definitely some belief that was obviously unscientific.
Right.
Obviously, we know that, right? And you
Yeah.
you mentioned this cousin marriage. Obviously, cousin marriage is actually problematic, right?
Hmm.
But this isn't. Yet cousin marriage is halal, and this is halal.
Yeah. So is that moral? Like, because I like in the I think in the
So
Western world, like I'm not.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that cousin marrying your cousin is like frowned upon. It's not something that people do. Actually, people don't want to do. Right? It's
Well,
almost
it depends.
yeah.
I know some people, and I know some Western people that did marry their cousins. It's not as common. It's not. I think it depends where you are. Like so in history, cousin marriage has always been a huge thing, a big thing. What was the reason for that? It was to keep the wealth in the family. If you marry from outside, you're now taking your wealth and you're sharing it with another family, right?
Hmm.
So many kings and stuff would do this cousin marriage thing to keep the blood, the money and the power in the family, right?
Right.
And so there is, and I would not say it's immoral to marry your cousin. Obviously, I don't think that's an issue. The issue is it would be immoral to have children with your cousin if you knew that the child would have serious genetic issues. That would be
Right.
immoral. If you go ahead and bring a child in the world that's going to be born with birth defects, then you
Right.
are committing like you are being immoral. You are doing something wrong. You are increasing suffering, and there's no need to do that. There's obviously like different choices you have. You can adopt or whatever, right?
Hmm.
But Islam doesn't have any guidance about this. It doesn't teach us anything about cousin marriage because cousin marriage is fine. Muhammad married his cousin as well, right? So
And that's the thing, right? It's sort of like, how do we reconcile these things, right? How do we reconcile these things? How do we say at this point, like, man can wear gold? You said, right? Like that, or gold and silk. I personally don't like gold or wearing it. Maybe this is something that I was brought up with. Maybe that's why I don't like it. I don't know what it is, but silk. I think that's pretty cool. It's luxurious. I like silk. I don't own a whole wardrobe of silk, but I don't mind it. So why is it? Maybe they just didn't want the luxurious things for men or something like that. So I mean, that made sense to them in their minds at that time.
it's weird because now we end up with the problem that you have, the funny thing is you have synthetic silk is okay,
Right.
and you have other random things that are okay, like for example, platinum, titanium. You can wear any other metal, even if it's more expensive than gold. You just
Right.
can't wear gold. It's become a dog. It's a dogma.
It
It's
is.
literally blind faith in like it. There's no. What's the objective behind that? Like, there's no objective. It's just arbitrary whims of God or Muhammad or something, right?
That's it. That's it. Hey Abdullah, I want to welcome Little Man to the stream. How you doing, Little Man? How are you today, man?
How you doing, Abdul? You right? And how you
Yeah, I'm
doing?
good. I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good. This is our friend from Britain. He's got a British accent. The Queensland. The Queensland. How are you, bro? I haven't seen you in a minute, man.
No. The stream's been off in it.
I've been traveling, bro. I've
No,
been,
no. I know you've been doing something. When Nomad
yeah.
goes away, it's not for no reason.
So how you been, man? So I have my dear friend Abdullah Samir on the stream today, and we're talking about objective morality, which is one of those things
Yeah.
that
I'm
yeah,
a fan. I'm a fan of him as well.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
One of his shows.
absolutely.
Through Nomad, I watch your shows. The first time I seen your show is through Nomad, and I think it was the Somali girl from Australia.
Yeah, yes, yes,
That's the
yes.
first time I ever even seen their show. So as a Somali, I've been looking for other Somalis that think the same way I think, and then through your show, I got to see Nomad, and but I was looking for Nomad, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's awesome,
But if it
bro. Like,
wasn't for you, Nomad, I would never have known his show as a Somali.
there you
Basically,
go. Oh, there you
but it's a
go.
great show. Though he does a great work, and I'd advise people to check out his work because it's very good.
Absolutely, and I'm also a fan of Abdullah, but I'm lucky enough to also consider him a friend. And it's funny because in the internet world, we're connecting people from all over the world and understanding that we're rallying around ideas now, as opposed to
Yeah.
religion and things like that.
It's not about color or religion or like as in country that you're from. It's more about ideas. So
That's
both of
it.
you, I agree with both of you, like, and you're both different culture, but it doesn't mean anything because there's just avatar,
That's it.
Somali avatar or Asian avatar or Christian avatar. It's just avatar. It's just a face that's gonna go in the ground one day
Yeah,
and pass away. But the soul is what we're searching for. What is the soul? Where is it meant to go? What does Allah mean, or Christianity, or Jew? You know what I mean?
that's it. And I think that's what actually would always tickle my brain is the fact that, look, is there such a thing as objective morality? And up until I saw this video that Abdullah made, which was very hard hitting. I'm gonna share, actually. I'm gonna share the link of that video right now, just so that everybody understands what I'm referring to. But one of the things, Abdullah, that you had said was, is slavery okay? And in Islam, it is. And I think whenever we go into that, like, we can go into the whole, is it servitude, or is it servants, is it slavery? We can go through all those rabbit holes, but at the end of the day, we all
Nomad,
understand
nomad.
what it means. Yes.
Sorry. Do you mean sex slaves, or do you mean
That's the thing.
slavery as in
I'm
slavery?
talking about slavery as a whole, like as
I
taking
mean,
someone else.
men is different from women, right?
Right, but I'm talking about, like, taking someone else hostage, if you will. Like, yeah, you own another human being for whatever it is, for whatever reason. Like, it can be sex or work or whatever it is, right? But just having, what's the word I'm looking for? Having dominion over another human being. I think that's what I'm thinking about when I say slavery, right? And Abdullah, you had covered that in your video, and I just shared the video link here. So please go and check it out. It's a 20-minute video that actually is really well done. And you research this, right, Abdullah? Like, what have you done to research Islamic morality and this topic?
Yeah, so as you know, as you mentioned, this is one of the most common questions you get asked. And ever since I left Islam 5 years ago publicly and I became, this public figure, this question is like hammered at you like over and over and over again. So this is not the first time I've like covered this. I've actually written an article because I get asked all the time, as an atheist, where do you get your morals from? So I actually have like an article as well that I can share, atheism, morality, and that one. So I've been kind of looking into this for a long time, I think, and which is why I was ready for this. And I was lucky that I had the time to work on this right now because I'm between jobs. So I actually had, the ability and the time to really do well on this video because I care about this topic. What happened was I had been so what happened was this. I was on Clubhouse, which is a new app that people are using. And what happened was, it was a Muslim channel, like room or whatever. And of course, they brought this up again. They brought up, like, we weren't even talking about morality, but they brought up morality. And so I was like on the spot again. What do you believe? Why do you believe this? Whatever. And so I had to come up with an answer. And the answer I came up with was similar, like was based on what I know, the books I've read and the stuff that I've done, which is what we've been discussing all along, right? That it's not a big issue that you guys are making it like. It's you guys are making a big deal out of this. But your book, like one of my friends was saying, theists want us to believe that without the theists whose books are full of murder, pillaging, and rape want us to believe that without religion, we would all be murdering, pillaging, and raping. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, the books, the reason they bring this up is because what they want to do is they want to stop us from criticizing Islam. That's what they want.
Right.
Like, this is not like an honest point. This is just a deflection. This is like, shut up. You don't have any right to talk about morality because you don't have any morality. That's the point. But it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's such a stupid point because, yes, we do have morality. Okay, it's not objective, but neither is yours. You just want to call it objective, right?
That's it. You're insisting on calling it objective when we all understand it's not.
Yeah, okay. You want objective morality? Okay, I'm studying a new religion. Abdullah, Samir religion. I am the prophet of this religion. Flying spaghetti monster is my God. He has sent me objective morality that we now believe in. All of the ex-Muslims, you guys all have objective morality now because it is from flying spaghetti monster.
Now accept it.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what kind of point is that? It's a joke.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. Instead of flying spaghetti monster, they're saying insert God's name. Like, how does that change anything?
That's it. The template is right there. I was making a joke, actually. I was saying I was listening to my son argue with his cousin. about Spider-Man and some anime stuff, and they were really into it. Like their conversation was serious. There was no laughing about it. There was no joking. He really thought, what's his name? Uzumaki or whatever is the guy that's better than this other guy. Anyway, they were really into this conversation, right? Couple 11-year-olds. And I'm like, this reminds me of two religious people arguing because each of them have their own sources, right? They each have their own books. They all have, and I was laughing by myself. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly how religious people sound to me when they're arguing, because all they're saying is, hey, forget what you're reading in your book because it says something different in this other book. So why don't you look at this other book? And it's like, no, I want to look at my book and you look at your book, right? It's really funny. Now, one of the topics that I actually always kind of, and I've never had a satisfactory answer to this from Islam, from Muslim people or from Islamic discussions, is the issue of Zainab and Zayd and how they got divorced so Muhammad can marry Zainab. And I'm like, in which reality, in which realm is that not just shady? It's just shady. Is it dude just wanted this girl? I mean, that was his cousin, I believe. I think that was his cousin.
Yeah, Zainab. Yeah, Zainab being Jaksh is his cousin.
Yeah,
Can you share my screen for 1 second?
sure thing.
Yeah, so this is a meme that kind of describes like what's going on here, right? It says there can be no peace until they renounce the rabbit god and accept the duck god. So if you look at this picture, it can
Right.
be looked at two different ways. What do you see? What do you see here? Do you see a duck or a rabbit?
I see a duck.
Okay, so now if you look at this part as the ears, what do you
Oh,
see?
now I see a rabbit.
You
Yeah,
see?
now I see a rabbit. Yeah.
So it's a joke. It's like, Muslims and Christians, they both believe in same God. It's like, or like Shias and Sunnis, it's like
Yeah.
they're fighting over. It's the same idea. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
That's actually a good one. But yeah, so to me, when I'm talking about it, and even back then, right, even in 7th century Arabia, it was not seen as something good. Having your adopted son's like
Yeah.
marrying your adopted son's wife.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
that's weird.
It's weird, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of porn that's based on this. Like, what the hell? It's, you know what I'm saying? Like,
You went there. That's funny.
no, but it's
Yeah, so it's okay. So, theoretically, okay, here, let's put it like this. Here, the problem is a little bit more, I think, a little bit more nuanced than that.
Mhm.
The problem is not that, so you can marry your adopted son's ex-wife. There's theoretically nothing wrong with that. But the issue here, I think, is that Muhammad tried to make this into like that this wasn't about him. That
Right.
this is something that is for everybody. Like the Quran says, when Zayd had no more need of her, we married you to her so that Muslims would know when the adopted son has no need of his wife, you can marry her. Like what?
That's a
What?
very
Like
specific situation.
it's super weird, right? And
Yeah.
of course, at the time, this was a big problem, and it also exposes a lot of other interesting things.
Mhm.
It exposes the fact that Muhammad was scared of what they would think about him. It says
Okay.
that. It says
Yeah.
you were scared of what they would say about you. And it
That's
also
it.
says that we wanted to so basically this entire thing is a way for him to justify to do what he wanted to do that was considered immoral in the culture. And like you
Yes.
said, because of because Zayd was like his son, it
Mhm.
is weird, right?
Yeah.
It is really weird because, and then there's multiple like versions of the story, right? One of the stories says that Zainab, was upset at the marriage. She was always angry at Zayd, and the other one was like, that Muhammad was the reason that he pushed, he pushed Zainab to marry him, even though she was already in this marriage relationship, right? So
Right.
some Muslims agree that Muhammad was the reason for Zayd to divorce Zainab, right?
Right. But that's how the story goes, as far as I understand it. Now, there's other things that say that Zainab actually wanted to be married, obviously, to the leader rather
Yes.
than
Yeah.
right. Because
Yeah.
I think Zayd was also a slave, right? Like
An ex-slave. He
an
was freed by
ex-slave.
Muhammad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was freed by and adopted by Muhammad. So the other thing also is that I would think, because I actually saw the first series of you and Abdullah Gondal about kind of basically going into the mental health of Muhammad, and one of the like it was a really sad existence at the beginning for Muhammad. He was adopted, returned, like a lot of things were going on there. So I thought he would like kind of look at adoption a lot more endearingly than he did. So, like
And
they say, yeah,
he did
mhm,
until he needed something else.
that's
Then
it.
it's like, forget
For,
this.
forget that. But that's the
I
thing, and
want.
that's
I Yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to show how the morality, if we're talking about morality, just kind of goes on a whim for what Muhammad wanted at that specific time. So, like I was saying, hurt people, right? Again, and I feel like because of what happened to him, he stopped caring, and he did do a lot of things for adoption and like adopted kids. That was one of the things that he actually would campaign for a lot.
Yeah, like he was pro like sponsoring orphans and stuff like
Hmm.
that, but at the same time he actually, crippled adopted kids, like their rights, like completely crippled them because they're treated as non-kids in a family.
That's it. That's it. A non entity, because they could no longer belong. So he basically severed that sense of belonging that an adopted kid would want to have.
The sense of belonging, inheritance, they don't get
Hmm.
inheritance either. You can't be alone with them if you're the opposite sex, right? Which is
Mm,
again a big problem for Muslim adoption. Muslims have this weird issue with adoption
okay.
that, and I know someone like close to me that had this issue, Muslim guy
Hmm.
and his wife, and they wanted to adopt a child because he wasn't having good kids. I mean, he wasn't having kids, so
Yeah.
they wanted to adopt.
Right.
Okay, so they wanted to adopt a boy, but now guess what? You adopt a boy, the mom can't be alone with him. So how's that work? It's your
Yeah.
son, like a kid. Or she can't take him. She can't give him a bath. I mean, obviously from the age of puberty, but like, it's like weird. Like it's shaitan is alone with them because they're not related, according to the hadith, right?
Yeah. But it's
So
a kid. Yeah. So
yeah, and even when he grows up, I mean, like that's still your kid,
yeah.
even if he's adopted. Like like if I adopted a daughter, that's still my daughter. Like I don't care whether she's literally my genetics. Like she's my daughter
That's
for
it.
all intents and purposes. I raised her. She's my daughter, or like my son, whatever. Right? It's so
Hmm.
stupid. So
So like, I know that in my like in my community, in the Somali community, and I'm not sure if it happens everywhere else, but because you'll see cousins often growing up with the, let's say one family is faring better, so they'll some cousins will come and live with them just to kind of take care of the kids and stuff like that, and that happens all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember there was one of my cousins that kind of lived with us for a period of my life, like just lived with us, just because, right? And we obviously in the psyche of my mom and my father, it's like this is our kid, and she was treated just like everyone else, and that they actually went above and beyond to show that they would treat her as fairly as possible, sometimes kind of treating her even more fairly than just to kind of show that you belong here, right? And to kind of reassure that that's really not stemming from the religion. That's more of a cultural thing, more of a something that we all just understand. So I want to come back to the theme that we're talking about, which is morality. So which one is more moral? Like making a kid feel like they're at home and they belong and that they're loved and that they're going to be taken care of, or making them feel like, hey, look, you're not from me. You can't have my name. As a matter of fact, I'm going to marry your wife. Like it's do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a it's a bit of
when
a
you
like
put it like that, oh my god, it's so funny.
you
Hey,
understand? Yeah.
everyone that's here, I posted a link to this channel. I do support New Nomad and Free Somali Minds. Please subscribe to the channel. So just a little plug here.
Thank you
We
so
want to help.
much,
We want to
Abdullah.
help. We want to help New Nomad get to 1,000 subs here, and this is a great initiative focusing on the Somali community. And you are from the Somali community. You are my
Yes.
brother. I'm from Kenya, so you're my
All
African
right,
brother.
East,
Yeah.
yeah, East Africa. That's
Yep.
awesome. So there you go. Thank you so much, Abdullah. Truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to do this. I mean, I don't have to tell you, but like, I'm just trying to find the time to, you know, get this off the ground, because I think these conversations are very, very, very needed. And every stream and every stream that I do, I get like a bunch of people, contacting me and saying, "This is great. Keep doing it. We need this," and all of that. And I think that's great. Um, Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I think I ask you a lot. I pick your brain about how to get this, to that next level. So I truly appreciate your endorsement here.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to welcome my brother GMH to the stream. GMH, Abdullah Samir, GMH stands for Global Mental Health. So my brother here is. Well, you know what? How about you introduce yourself, GMH? Welcome to the stream.
And thank you. And man, I thought this was like a one-on-one today. I was watching you on YouTube, then I thought, is he inviting other people today, or is this one an expert telling us about morality? But welcome, my
An
friend.
expert on morality. Yes, that's
I'm
Abdullah
no,
Samir.
no. Hold on. Whoa. Stop right there. I'm no expert. Listen, guys. I think the reason why my video was so hard hitting is precisely because I'm not one of those people that sits in an academic office reading books all day. Like, this is like from the ground, as a former pious. I never claimed to be a scholar of Islam, and I'm definitely not an expert on ethics, meta ethics, philosophy of ethics. I'm a rookie, seriously. Like
But you
bluntly.
are a human being, right, Abdullah Samir? You
Yeah,
are a
and I
human.
think
Okay.
we can have these conversations, and
Yes.
we can practically talk about, what does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? How does this affect the way that we should behave? How should we behave? We can talk about these things. We don't have to be like experts. And please don't call me an expert, because I'm by no means an expert.
And I think that was a bit tongue in cheek from GMH.
It was tongue-in-cheek. The reason is because, like, I know why he wants me to say what I am and what my background is. So he wants to label me as an expert in something. So that's why I was like, ahead. I'm like blaming you for everything on this. Like, like it's Abdullah, whatever he says. Like, yeah. But I'm a trained neuroscientist, so that's why he wanted me to say this. And I work in mental health, and I really care a lot about mental health, and I think it's like the start of a lot of good and bad things in human life. So that's why he was like telling you a little bit about myself. So that's why I have a graduate degree, a PhD in neuroscience, and neuroscientists are like philosophers want to be, and so a little bit about like the brain. That's my expertise.
So why don't you tell us, GMH, what is your take on morality? Because we've been discussing morality, and is there such a thing as objective morality? What is your stance on that?
And I mean, like, I think there is some sort of like ground truth maybe to morality, but I don't know if we're saying morality in the sense of like these constructed moralities in like different traditions and religions and all of that. But we could argue what is right and wrong, like I think like Abdullah was saying, and reach to something where we're talking about like the morality of human existence, or the morality of like our existence on this planet, and vice versa. So there are like arguments that we could start that this is maybe moral or immoral, but I don't think we can. It's very difficult to like have a concept of it within certain traditions and certain like and subjective social constructs.
Okay. Yeah, because I was looking at the video that Abdullah Samir had posted not too long ago, and just going through it, it was really poignant, because what it actually showed is that, because when you get asked, hey, what is the yardstick you're using, right? That's great. You think that you don't believe in Islam, great, but what is the yardstick that you're using? What is the objective morality that you're kind of leaning on in order to get to these conclusions that you're getting to? I personally, and I can speak for myself, I've always struggled with that question because I thought there had to be one.
So here's the thing. Here's the problem with okay, again, I'm not an expert, but here's the problem with moral realism. Moral realists believe that there is such a thing as like right and wrong. Most moral realists tend to be theists because that is, typically they connect whatever God's existence. For example, one of my good friends, Farhan Qureshi, he's an ex-Muslim Hindu, and he believes in this philosophy of moral realism. What he says is, I believe that God, has certain, basically there's certain moral truths that exist, and these have been programmed into us by God or whatever. Meaning, like, how we instinctively, if if there's a child gonna get hit by a car, we'll pull the child away from the car. We're not gonna wait for the car to hit the child and then take its like stuff or something. You know what I mean?
We'll be proactive, a little bit proactive, yeah.
Like we have these hardwired. Most of us, now obviously psychopaths would be an exception, but most of us have some sort of instinct about altruism, about morality, about right and wrong. Like if someone's drowning, we're gonna jump in and try to save them, right? We're going to, most of us, right? Most of us decent people would do that, right? Especially if there's no risk to us. I mean, we don't, it's not like, okay, we don't care. We do care about other people. We care. We're not going to like rob someone just because if someone drops the wallet, usually I'll give, most of us would give it back, right? Obviously, if you're starving, you don't have money, some people are dishonest. There's different varieties, but we would all agree that you should give it back, even if we don't necessarily, even if we're like dishonest, if we steal it. So the problem with moral realism, from my perspective, is that it's called the grounding problem. The grounding problem is you can't get an ought from an is. Just because something is a certain way doesn't mean it ought to be that way. So just because, like it's and people like Sam Harris. So Sam Harris is one of the proponents of moral realism. He's a consequentialist. He believes that there is such a thing as right and wrong, and right and wrong is grounded in science, he says, and he believes that human thriving, suffering, all of that comes from science, he believes. Now, most philosophers and everybody else mostly disagrees with him because they don't think there's a good connection. Like he's making a jump from an is to an ought. And that is very contentious. Most people would disagree. I would say we can call it objective if we want to, but we have to acknowledge that still the basis is subjective, whatever the basis is, whether it's human thriving. Like if you look at different moral philosophies, for example, utilitarianism, they all have issues. Utilitarianism means maximum benefit for everybody, right? So for example, but like here's an example where it would fall apart badly. Say you're a doctor, right? And there's one guy, you can kill that guy. You can take his heart, you can give it to one person. You can take his lungs, give it to another person. You can his eyes, give it to the blind man. You saved 5 people's lives. You only took 1. So that should be good according to, that more. So in theory, Farhan actually mentioned this to me. This is I think the best way to look at it. We don't have to be Puritans. We don't have to subscribe to I'm only a utilitarian, or I'm only a consequentialist, or I'm only. You can pick and choose based on what makes sense in the situation. In this case, none of us would agree that you should kill people and take their lungs and heart and give it to different people, because
of course
it feels wrong. It feels wrong, and we know it's wrong because we don't want that happening to us, right? Going back to the cake problem, right?
What
if you're the one who gets sacrificed, right? So we don't want to live in a world like that. So we don't have to pick and choose like pure, I'm a utilitarian purely, because that has issues too. Like Peter Singer, he's a famous utilitarian, and some of his positions are really weird. Like, I'll give you an example. One thing he says, and maybe some people would agree with this, I don't know. He says that nobody should buy art. Nobody should buy art because money should go towards people that's starving. So we all agree, I think, you should help people that's starving, but most of us don't go to the point where we say that don't do anything else until that's solved, right? So that's kind of like where priorities would disagree, and it's never going to be objective. Everybody has a different opinion, right?
that is very true, actually. So one
Yeah.
of the things that I was thinking about is
Abdullah, then why would you be, and like you just said, you and I'm not defending the neuroscientist philosopher wannabe, you know, like you just said, Sam Harris, who's a neuroscientist and who wants to be, wrote this like book on the moral landscape. I'm assuming that's what you read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So why would you then say, like, I mean, what he is describing is sounds to me exactly what you are describing. It's like it's a utilitarian like way of describing morality. If on one end we would have suffering, like he starts with the idea of suffering. If he says sentient beings and all the sentient beings that you know, and we're not talking about just planet Earth, just like let's say on one end is this extreme like condition where every sentient being would be suffering, 100% suffering, and to the other end is like where all the sentient beings won't be suffering. So if we take morality on that landscape, on one side would be the most moral place that we could be, yeah, where all sentient beings are not suffering, and on the other side would be the what did he say? Like it would be the immoral side of that moral landscape, and that's picking and choosing, like you said, from all of these different philosophies, whether it is utilitarianism, empiricism, all of these like different. I agree with you. It's like all of these. The thing with philosophy is like we start with philosophy with like things that we really think we gut feelingly know, and then we go through it and it turns out strange and we really don't know. You know, that's where we end up with philosophy, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
that is a very that's
Yeah.
this guy's funny. You're funny, Jimmy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's why I was like saying it's very difficult to even define this morality. But deep down, you and I know, yeah, 5 people here need like organs, one healthy guy. We can't do that, yeah, because it's immoral, yeah. Like gut feeling, we
Yeah.
go through it. We go through it with all of these little like and theories of philosophy, and we end up really like, yeah, we knew gut feeling that it was not right, but deep down it's also right, you know, like because like there's 5 people here that are gonna live, and how do you measure that, and how do you like and so it's difficult. That's what I mean by like it's really difficult to define it in the constraint of this little thing that we call the human brain. Maybe one day we would have another like computational tool that would help us with that, but right now it's difficult.
Yeah. So to answer your questions, okay, so a couple of you mentioned a lot of really interesting points. One of them is, how is what I'm saying any different than Sam Harris? So the only difference between what I'm saying, I actually agree with Sam. I would consider myself a consequentialist too. I agree with Sam Harris, but the only difference is I don't believe it's objective. I still think that what I believe is subjective. It's not. It can't be objective. That's
He's selling books. He's selling books. That's the difference.
the only. Well, no, I mean, I'm not. I don't think. I'm like, I mean, he is a philosopher and he is a neuroscientist and he has the right to make his case. I just don't. I agree more that, like, I agree with the other side of the fence, which is that it's still subjective. You can make objective claims based on a subjective basis. We can, like, let's say my subjective basis is human thriving. Now I can make objective claims based on that. Let's say my objective basis was do not get wet. Now that's subjective. I don't want to get wet, but objectively I would wear a raincoat to not get wet, right? I mean, or it doesn't rain, I don't wear a raincoat, but in both cases, I'm still meeting the objective of not getting wet. The same idea, I agree with Sam Harris, except I don't think that you can make the jump from is to an ought. I just don't think that's, and again, I'm not an expert, but I'd say most moral philosophers would not agree with Sam Harris, but he has his point, and there are other people that agree with him too. But in terms of what he's saying, I agree with him. Consequentialism to me makes the most sense. Utilitarianism, like I said, I think that specific example shows where it falls apart. And Sam Harris, I think, has been asked the same question. Like, what about this example? If I remember correctly, he said the same thing that, well, would you want to live in a world where it could be your child that was the one that was sacrificed? Or, you know, so there's more to it than just like maximum benefit to most people. Because then again, you could be like, you know, killing all the minorities to support the majority. It doesn't make any sense either, right? So, but the best thing that comes out of philosophy, like you said, we start thinking, oh, we know everything, and then we get into philosophy. Now we're like, oh my God, I don't know anything. Right?
We know nothing. We know
nothing. But that's the best thing is, and this is what I was telling my friends that I was discussing with before I made the video. Like some of my good friends were talking about this. The goal is to take away the black and white. to get
Right.
a gray area. If you can convince people that think in black and white that, hey, it's not that simple, now you won. You won against the theist, because the theist came saying objective morality, and now you're like, well, every single ijtihad you're making is already subjective.
That's
You
it.
are making subjective claims every single day. Even if you think that the source is objective, you're still making subjective calculations, because you have to. You're making a, like, you don't know what God wants. He's not talking to you,
Right.
right? So
Right.
so once you have the gray area, that's a beautiful thing, because that's the world. Like you said, maybe one day we'll figure. I don't think we can ever figure it out, because it's complicated. This stuff is damn tough, right?
Well, I mean, when you look at like morality, and I think of that situation was, I think it was King Solomon, where there's a, I don't know, there's a problem with a, someone wants the baby and they say this is my baby, and anyways, there's some confusion going on. In his great moral judgment, he says, let's cut the baby in two and give you each half, right? And so supposedly the real mother is going to be like, no, 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 she can have the baby. It's so infantile, right? In terms of just kind of looking at that. But what it actually communicates is that, oh, well, the real mother would not want the kid to be sliced in two. I don't know, even if you weren't the real mother, I don't know what human being would want to see a baby cut in two. And
It's kind
how
of like a cool. It's kind of like a cool story, I think, more
it
than
is
a
a cool
real,
story. Yeah,
more
it's a
than a
cool.
real, like, it's like something like Sherlock Holmes would do in one of those TV shows, eh?
Yes. Let's
You know what I
cut the
mean?
baby in two. Let's cut the baby in two. It's so funny. It's so funny. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Like, objective morality does not exist. And I agree with you that when you get people to come into the gray shaded area and be comfortable with that gray shaded area, and it's not so black and white, that's where the conversation can be had. And that's when we actually, calm the hell down and they can actually just have conversations. The black and white that's created by these religions oftentimes are inducing that violence. They're inducing that conflict. They invite conflict because, it doesn't bend, it can only break. So that if you don't think like me, if you don't think this is morality, if then you are in the wrong clearly, because obviously God said this. And what we see, and in that video, what you kind of really laid out is how this morality thing was as fluctuating as just anyone else's. Like Muhammad was pulling this out, you know what I mean, whenever he needed to, and it was then he was attributing it to God. And like who said it? Yeah, Yusuf Khan here said this perfectly. He's like Muhammad was Allah incarnate. He was basically saying this is the morality, and just taking the place of Allah, right? So there, once people understand there is no such thing and as an objective morality, and that morality is a fluctuating thing, I think that's when we can have the conversation and people can just calm down, right?
It's always going to be so complicated, because there's just too many scenarios to like even if I'm coding a robot,
Right.
it's so damn difficult to come up with all of the different scenarios that can happen. That's why, self-driving cars are such a difficult thing. Now
Right.
imagine you want to have one book that's going to have the answers for everything. It doesn't make any
It
sense.
doesn't make
It's
sense.
not possible.
Yeah.
It's not like if God left us. I mean, simple thing would be God just tell us what's right and wrong. But then what's the point of this? Like, it's like,
what is
does
it?
he want
Yeah,
us to jump through hoops to figure this stuff out? Like, what is this game?
it is a great game that's lasted so long because it actually it's confusing. So if you're always confused and you can't question it, that's the perfect system, right? Because and I think a lot of times they confuse the is to the ought, right? Like they say it was that way in 7th century Arabia, but that doesn't mean it ought to be that way, right? It
Yeah, and
just was.
that's an excuse used against atheists a lot.
Mhm.
They say evolution, survival of the fittest. So therefore, you should let all these people die if you're really atheist. It's stupid. No, none of
Yeah.
us is saying like evolution is a morality. Like that's ridiculous. Like nobody says that. Like
That's
that's a
it.
straw man,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, that's
But
it.
theists say that. They say, oh, well, according to survival of the fittest, like da 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 da. Da. I'm like, I didn't say that's what we strive for. We don't strive for that. Like we strive for better than that. we take care of like people that have like, health issues and mental issues. We want to help them. We just don't want people to all kill themselves just because they have mental health issues. No, we're not like that. Like, we don't, as a humanist, you care about people. It's not, yes, survival of the fittest is the law of nature, but that doesn't mean it has to be our law. Our law can be, more, we can have more empathy than that. We have brains, we can think about these things, right?
So I wanted to explore a little bit as to why do you think religious people want that black and white? I mean, it's simple, right? Because when you're a child, it's always funny because if I'm watching a movie and my kid comes, it's like, okay, who's the bad guy and who's the good guy, right? Like, they need to know, okay, so this guy's a bad guy, this guy's a good guy, right?
Yeah.
It's almost as though it keeps us in that mind state of childlike, approach to life, where there has to be a bad guy and there has to be a good guy, right? And that's the thing. Like, what makes people want to have this black and white?
I'm getting distracted by a comment here. Can you just put that comment on the screen? Evolution is still a theory.
A theory is that okay? Go ahead.
This, maybe I didn't hear what you said, and Abdullah, but let's objective reality, maybe even harder, objective morality, but let's say our subjective morality as this species, as this monkey on this like little planet, like yeah. Where's the origin of that itself? Even if we can say it's like from objective morality, where is that morality from? I mean, those things that we like, the thing that we just said, like cutting up a person, we all grinch on that. We just maybe not know, like you said, we may have all of these theories for it. But then where are these things that we think are right and wrong from a gut feeling? Where do they come from if there's not like a ground truth to them?
Yeah, I have yeah, there we go. Thank you. So I have an article on this atheism. And can you remove that comment now? I just wanted to like cringe at that comment about evolution. If you want to look at evolution, please just study evolution. Just read a book, even just one book on evolution. Like Richard Dawkins, The Greatest Show on Earth, is a beautiful book. And in the first few pages, he debunks this. It's just a theory thing. That's not what it means when you say theory. Then they don't mean a theory that's not. Anyways, I
feel like you've had this conversation 1,000 times.
Your blood is boiling. I'm sorry.
I sense demonstration.
Yeah, it's just like, please read some books, guys. Okay.
A lot of the time, it's people don't really like. I see my people like it's semantics and theories and like and like laws and like they don't like when they even translate it in their own language. It says a totally different idea, and I keep on telling them it doesn't mean exactly like that. Let's like maybe you don't have the word for it like in your vocabulary. What you think theory is just like someone pulling stuff out of his behind. It's not really like that. You gotta like
yeah. So what I was gonna say was this is like I've written about this before, that we have some evolved morality. Even animals have this sort of morality, if you want to call it that, like to some extent. There has been, and I mentioned this in the books anyways, in the video I made, but for example, male chimps have been observed giving the food to an older female even when there's no personal benefit to them, right? In The Selfish Gene, Richard Dawkins explained how altruism can rise naturally. Helping others ends up helping you. So I can't really like do justice to this topic, but like there is enough scientific evidence that shows that animals have a sense of justice, a sense of fairness. And if they didn't, then we would never have got to where we get to today, because, there's reasons why, and it's been mathematically proven that like a tit for tat is an evolutionarily stable strategy. So for example, if someone, why would an animal fight another animal? If every animal was just like, okay, just come and take my mate and my food, then they would always do it. But if there's a tit for tat strategy, right, then the animal would be scared of attacking the other animal because he thinks the other animal would retaliate, right? So now what happens is you end up in a situation where, things like that are how we've evolved morality. These things happen in nature over time, and whatever led to the greatest amount of good is what survived and what ended up being an evolutionarily stable strategy. So altruism is part of that. Steven Pinker also talks about this in his book. And yeah, I kind of go to it in this article as well. I wanted to, let
Okay.
me see if I, yeah, it's kind of long, but anyways, yeah.
Yeah, you answered my question. So, like,
Okay.
basically, what you said was like morality arises from natural processes. That's where I was going to. Like,
And
'cause, like,
we don't
yeah,
we don't limit it to that. We don't limit it to that. We keep growing and we build on top of that, right? Because there's going to
yeah.
be some examples
Mhm.
where morality is wrong. And I'll give you two examples. One example is when it comes to, let's say, homosexuality. A lot of us straight people may feel that is disgusting because
Mhm.
that's not that doesn't appeal to us because we're straight. However, just because it's disgusting does not make it immoral. And it's nothing wrong with homosexuality. It's that happen 5% of the population or so is homosexual, and whatever they're doing is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It doesn't hurt anybody. It's opt in. It, as long as it's consent,
Mhm.
then that's fine, right?
No,
Now when
but
it,
would you say it's biologically immoral? Biologically, like, as in two men couldn't make a child, for example. Like, I know we're talking about morals and what people think of morals, and I agree with you most of your points, but sometimes, like certain things, it's not moral, but it's like scientifically, you can't make a child with two men or two women. So
but here's the question.
yeah,
So let's say I'm straight. Is it immoral if I use a condom and I don't want to have kids?
no, it's not. Nothing's immoral or moral. We make that shit up. But
Yeah.
I'm saying
So
in terms of how life is meant to work, like as in if you want to make a
I guess what you're trying to say is it might be abnormal and not
so
going in
that's
line
not
with what.
even
Yeah.
that's not the case. So even among animals, like there's some
Yeah.
funny picture. You can find funny pictures of like two male lions having sex. I mean,
Yeah,
homosexuality
yeah.
exists in nature too. But forget that. I wanna go on this train of thought with you. So if the homosexuals cannot have children, my question is, why is that a problem? Who cares? So what?
it's
I
not a
maybe I don't, maybe
problem.
I'm okay. So what's your point then?
No, my point is this, yeah. It's not a problem because I get what you're saying. Like as in if two people want to have sex, whether they're a man or woman or man, it shouldn't be a problem. We make this thing up where it's like morals and stuff. But I'm saying in terms of like actually making a child, you need a man and a woman.
Yes.
So it's like the same thing as like 1 + 1 is 2 type of thing. Where it's like it's not morally correct or it's nothing to do with morals. It's just the way life works. Like for example, if you want an apple tree, you're not gonna plant a seed that's going to make you tomatoes, for example.
Yeah, but
Little
that's
man,
fine,
let me
right?
see if I could answer this, Abdullah. Little man, and so like I think maybe when we say moral, what we're trying to say is it right or is it wrong? And it's different than if you saying like Abdullah said, should it be like this or should it not be like this? We're not talking about that. We're just talking like morality is like we're saying like something is right or something is wrong, and where does it originate? Does it originate in biology? Does it originate in like a philosophical theory? So like what I was asking like Abdullah was like objective morality may be difficult to like define, but as a monkey, I'm just calling us monkeys and our like friends on this planet, like, and so where is our morality? Where is our wrong and right coming from? And he was like clearly explaining to me in a really good way, and he was taking all the evidence and saying it sometimes could come from natural processes, like
Mhm.
evolution and all of that. But then he said that's not the only place, because look at this example that violates the natural processes, which is like the thing. Because like when I was telling him why we think something is wrong or right, like gut feeling, he was telling me it's from nature. But sometimes nature could also put in you something that you say, oh, it's wrong, but technically it's not wrong if we go back to the objective morality that we were talking about. So that's, I think, where he was going. Is that what, like, I don't want to be
Yes,
your
yes,
whisperer. I don't want to be
yes.
like Abdullah's whisperer.
Exactly. That's exactly
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
So
it says it in the comment right there as well. Like the purpose of life isn't to make a child. Kane Pat said, "I'm married and straight and have no children."
Yeah,
So
because
yeah,
that is right and wrong. Every time I masturbate, feel feel guilty, you know, like
That's a
it's like
genocide. That's a genocide,
exactly
bro.
genocide. I'm like, yeah. So it's not like that's I think what he was trying to say. Like gut feeling. That's what. In a gut feeling, we're like, oh, we're wasting something, but this is
It's
just subjective morality for us here on this planet and this species
right.
we live. You know, so
Did
Yeah.
that answer the question, or is there more to it? Just let's see if we have an answer. If he answered it, I mean.
Little man. I think that's for little man. You might have maybe.
Little man, did we answer the question? Oh, I don't know where he went.
maybe he dropped off. So now
Okay, well-
let me go back and interrogating you. Like now I'm just.
This guy.
I have one more example.
Okay, give me
me
that
one more
example.
example.
Yeah, give me.
This one's
like,
also from Sam Harris. We have a bug in a morality, and this is clearly a bug. If I showed you a video or a story of one little boy or girl that's suffering, you would be the most likely to help them. Now, if I showed you 3 little girls, you would be less likely to help them, believe it or not. And if I showed you a group of 1,000 people that are suffering, you'd be like, okay, forget it. I'm not helping anyone.
Yeah,
So
and
that's another bug.
if you put a name to the little one person, it's even more like likely that if you call them Sam, then you will donate double. You know, like so. It's a weird thing. Yeah, I've seen that. That's why they always show. Remember, like they say, why do they always show one African child like who's like crying on like, you know, like has like flies on their like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a trick. It's a trick
Yeah.
on your brain. Yeah.
Our brains need to be fixed. We need to fix that because that doesn't make any sense. Obviously, we should help everyone, but I guess there's a reason why it's like that. I don't know why it evolved that way, but
yeah.
can I give you one more beautiful example?
Go ahead.
One more beautiful example.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I love this topic. This is so much more fun talking about this stuff. Okay, so this was from, I believe this is in Steven Pinker's book. You know, when you have, well, none of us are women, but women, when they have children, there is a period of time after the baby is born where they have what's called postpartum depression. And some women even feel like harming the baby. I don't know. Do you guys know this?
Yes.
They get like these like dark thoughts about like,
killing their babies.
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah.
Some women actually do it.
Yeah. So apparently, the best theory I've heard about this, which is very interesting, is the reason for this is because for many thousands of years, we had to make very difficult. There was no abortion. There was no contraceptives. So we were stuck with a very difficult situation of deciding, do I keep this baby and maybe lose my other child that's like, 12 years old and that's healthy, and this baby is like an unknown variable that we don't know, and my tribe is alive, so basically you have to make a very difficult situation as a mother at that point.
It was a cost benefit analysis at an early age. She was doing cost benefit analysis,
and so this sort of like bad thoughts evolved in to help make it easier to get rid of the baby in the situation that difficult situation needed to be met. So that sounds like very dark, but that is probably part of a human history, that we used to do this. We used to kill children because, I mean, you see this with other animals too. Like my kids had like pet rats, and if the mouse thinks there's not enough food for all of the children, she'll eat the kids, and it did that. Like a pet rat ate some of the babies. So yeah, it's pretty dark and gruesome, but this is part of a.
It served the purpose, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
At some point in our existence, it served the purpose. Yeah. It's just very, very, because what I can't shake is, why would a grown person want to have this black and white approach to life, right? And that in itself also might be something that we are, that we evolve into. Maybe it makes things simpler, doesn't it? If you say this is good and this is bad and it's black and white, like it makes it simpler. It takes the thinking out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, you asked me about that earlier. I didn't get to comment on that, the black and white thing.
Yeah, please go ahead. I think that was the next thing. That I think this is So tell us why do we need the black and white? There's some sort of utility for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder that too. Why is it that, I mean, all of us just want the answers on a silver platter, golden platter. It's like, here, this is what you should think. You know, it's even more funny, I think, when you have like whenever I talk to, I mean, Muslims, most of the time they will be
agree
like,
with that. I agree with that.
what? You came back?
No, I said I agree. I agree with what you said. We all want the answers on a silver platter, but it doesn't work like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So we never finished the other conversation though. Did you get the answer you wanted about the homosexuality? Was that what you were asking?
Yeah, no, I got some of it.
So what's missing?
Still need to ponder on some of it.
Yeah.
But I kind of get what you're saying. I just need to get my head wrapped around it. That's what it
So
makes sense.
basically, it doesn't like. There's always going to be people having kids. That's not a problem. So the people that don't have kids, whatever, it's no big deal. It doesn't matter. Like, the purpose of life is not to reproduce. I mean, yes, we do want the humanity to continue, but we're going to have 10 billion people. Okay, based on the projections, we don't need 10 billion people. If it goes down, you know, to some, there's many other ways of solving the population problem. Either we're going to have some sort of technology that makes us live longer, or maybe
the way you think, yeah, the way you think and your genes, yeah, don't you think that should be carried on?
I mean, that's again like a biology is saying that. A biology is saying you want to be passed down, reproduce, spread your genes. I mean, we've been wired to do that. It doesn't mean that's necessarily a good thing. I think we have enough people on Earth. I don't think we need any more people on Earth.
Maybe I could take a stab at this. One of the things that I thought was that maybe homosexuality was nature's way of controlling population. Well, it could just might be that, right?
I've heard this. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so maybe it's just nature's way. We seem to think that we are apart from nature. We're a part of. So maybe that's just nature adjusting, you know, homosexuality exists. Right? Maybe
you're cutting off.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're coming in and out of, like, I don't know if it's only me.
Yeah,
no, I can't hear
you now. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about yeah. So just basically see if that made sense to Little Man. That's all. Yeah, my internet is bad, so I'll let you guys carry on. I'll just try and fix this.
So the black and white thing, I do think so. Yeah, so Little Man, about the homosexuality thing, I think it doesn't really matter. Like, we have enough people on Earth. The population is going to grow. In my opinion, it's actually more moral to adopt a child than to have a child, because there's so many adopted children that need homes. But if you want to adopt, he's gone. Okay. Anyways, about the black and white.
Right.
I don't know what it is. I guess, at some level, not everyone has the intelligence and the capacity to think for themselves. They want people to tell them what to think. We've evolved this. There's a word for it. It's like a stage effect or something. You put someone on stage and people will like want to listen to them. Like, we've evolved this sort of
the authority.
We want to follow a leader, kind of. Yeah.
Yes,
like this desire to. I don't know why or how that works. So I guess it has some sort of benefit. So,
well, we're kind of outsourcing accountability in a sense, right? We're outsourcing that accountability, which frees up time or mind space to do other stuff, I guess. Maybe that's as simple as that.
And Muslims, I think, unfortunately, they outsource much more of their thinking. Not all of them, but when you look at these fatwa websites, It's just like hilarious. Some of the questions on there is like, did you really need to ask that question?
I sometimes cringe when I read those questions. Sometimes when I'm like, as a grown ass human being, why are you asking this of another human being? Like, is it okay to go in the washroom with my right foot? And wow, it's really that trivial. And so it's like, is there a need, or is that just them trying to be righteous? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just them trying to aspire to some righteousness.
But Nomad and Abdullah, even before we get to this sophisticated level of society, and like when I say sophisticated, I don't mean in that sense of word. I mean more complex. more people living, more laws, more of these. But let's say if we go back to, philosophers always want to go back to like the natural state of things, like, before society. Yeah. Let's say what was the natural state of human beings before we decided we want to be in a group, like before, because becoming in a group or becoming a society is like, technically if you choose to be part of that society, you're consenting to live within that society. And then there are certain maybe pressures to have these things that we call black and white. Because the way I think of it is like, look at a computer. Computers are very efficient because they have black and white. They have one or zeros. Yeah. It's an efficiency thing. So like when you get to a society, and is there a place where you're getting to a society, the complexity or like the structure of a society, that maybe it becomes more beneficial, more, and I'm not saying more wrong or right, but more beneficial to have these like one or twos, like pick or one or two, like, yeah. So is there like a pressure on society to have black and white in that sense? And then after a while, it becomes, instead of like you and I now agreeing, we both live in a society and we have consented that red light means to stop, green light means go, like, yeah, we consented to that. Yeah. We don't like sit there and like argue about the morality of like why red is.
You're talking about a social contract is what you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. So these, I think black and white are like, it's a social contract now for us, but wasn't religion some sort of a social contract also? But we just assigned it to like either a messiah or like a guy who came down and told us, actually, I got the questions answered. Like you don't have to think about it.
That's it.
You exactly said it. And I actually had this in my script. Secular morality essentially replaces God with the collective wisdom, intelligence, and traditions of human society as a definer of morality, which are shared and validated by its members, right? So basically, what you said is exactly right. At that point in time, but the problem is that, unfortunately, some of these religions, they elevate a personality. It's a personality cult of Muhammad, right? Islam is a personality cult of Muhammad, that where his needs were elevated to basically what the society, wanted. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments. Yeah. So yeah, basically what you said is true. It freezes it in point in time of those values at that time, but also it creates mess too, because sometimes, Muhammad or whoever it is creating personal laws for his own benefit.
Wow.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel for the poor man. I think a lot of people prescribed all of these things to him after the fact, just to continue to perpetuate their power. Yeah. And it's interesting that like,
which man are you referring to, Muhammad?
Yeah. I think like the stories about him, like Abdullah said, you could see when he was alive, he was not this omnipotent, super powerful person. He would like do things back and forth because he was afraid of the people that he was living with and all of that. But there are caliphs like maybe a couple of 100 years after him. It's like, listen, now I see how I could stay on this chair. And then they started doing things, and people don't like read. People like, I was like, so sometimes I feel for him. I was like, this poor man. He was trying his little game and playing there and doing little things, and these guys came after him and like just subscribed everything to him. So yeah,
yeah, that's it. Poor Muhammad, yes.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah. Actually, I would want you to watch Abdullah Samir and Abdullah Gondol series on.
So Abdullah, I don't know anything about you. I'm glad to like meet you today here, and I'm gonna watch your like videos and stuff. Thank you, New Nomad, for bringing him. We like people who think. We like people who are comfortable at uncomfortable places.
That's it. Exactly. Well, so they did it because what you just said, poor Muhammad. They just did the first of I guess you guys are gonna do mini series on this, and it's what did you call it? The
epileptic prophet.
The epileptic prophet, right?
Oh, I was gonna say that all of these guys had epilepsy.
Oh, yeah.
I like Muhammad had it, Jesus had it, all of that. Like the God delusion, or not the God delusion, but the God spot. Abdullah
Yeah, I
Muhammad,
don't know
you
about
know
Jesus. I don't know about Jesus.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Jesus. Okay, we can say for sure Muhammad. I don't know about Jesus per se, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'd say many of the prophets, like
I think,
prophets.
yeah.
Abdullah Gondal has done an incredible presentation. Like
Oh,
he
the
did it,
deep
I
dive,
think 1
yeah.
year ago. It was called we Psychotic Prophet or the Epileptic Prophet. But the new one is like he's been working on it for 1 year now, and you actually feel bad for Muhammad.
Yes, that's
The
what I was
first
gonna say.
episode was on his childhood. It ended up being 2.5 hours, or was it 3.5 hours? It went way too long, anyways. But the second episode is going to be on Tuesday with Dr. Ali Rizvi is going to be on the show as well, and we're gonna go through more neuroscience. So if you're a neuroscientist, you're gonna love it. You should definitely come and join us for the next live stream.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I will
So-
definitely. Please send it to me. Yeah, I have theories about it myself, but I just don't have the time to like put it on videos and stuff.
Yeah, so we also have it on podcast. So if you subscribe to any podcast, just look up Friendly Ex Muslim on Spotify. You can listen to it. You don't have to watch it. But we have slides as well. So the slides are like helpful to see as well. It is kind of long, but it's an incredible presentation. Incredible.
friendly
And this is the
ex-Muslim.
name, Friendly Ex-Muslims. Is that
That's
what?
it.
Yeah, that's the channel name. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Can I ask a question, please?
Go ahead, little man.
Sorry, friend. Sorry,
Just call me Abdullah. Just call me Abdullah.
Abdullah. Sorry, Abdullah. Yeah. I wanted to ask a question. Yeah. So what you were saying about the topic before, where is it moral to have kids or moral to be gay or whatever? Personally, I don't believe I should be.
You're cutting out. Well, man.
Lost you again.
I'm not trying to figure out someone else, but the point is,
We
sometimes
didn't
I
hear
look
the
at,
last 5 seconds, little man. We didn't hear your last 5
yeah,
seconds, bro.
sorry. So what I was trying to say is, in terms of someone being gay or someone being straight or someone being this or someone being that, I don't look at other people's lives to judge them, or because I do a lot of things in my own life that I'm trying to figure out. So I'm not trying to figure out other people's life, but I'm saying in terms of like biologically what our bodies can do. So it's not like religion or anything like that. It's just biologically, as a machine, as an animal, what we do is we produce kids. So I mean, if we're talking moral, I don't know I don't even know what moral is. I think that's a concept that human beings thought of. Because obviously you give me examples of animals that do things that are immoral. So what we call is moral. I feel like human beings, because we're so intelligent, we've held ourselves to this standard that we are like this and we should act like this and this is what moral is and da-da. But there's things that we just made up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
But I'm saying biologically, making kids and seeing your example of you, a part of you, be successful, more successful than you are, like brings a joy to me. Like as in my son, when I see my son do certain things, I just think I don't know about morally, but having a son brings me a lot of joy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then
And
I can't tell you for someone else being gay might bring them joy. I don't know what it does. What you know what I mean? I don't know what the
I
experience
think,
is.
little man, I think what you're talking about is the mechanics. Is what you're talking about, right?
The mechanics. Yeah, the mechanics of human beings. That's what I was talking about. I was talking
Right.
about moral. I was just talking about the mechanics. What our body can do. A man's body can't produce a baby.
Not yet.
Yeah. Does that make sense? You're not yet. Not yet. Yeah. Not yet. But I'm saying, what are these mechanics for? What were they meant for? Why is the woman produce? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and why is she more emotionally more attached than a man is, and all them kind of
Right.
questions there. Does that make sense?
Well, you're definitely making a moral calculation here when you're saying that we need to have. You're basically saying we need to have kids. That's what it sounds like to me. You're saying, why to homosexuality. I don't know if you're saying people shouldn't be I mean, obviously it's fine to talk about. I understand you're not
Sorry
judging
about that.
people.
Someone tried to call me again. Yeah. No. You're right. You're right in terms of like, I don't want to teach my kid, oh, this is right, this is wrong, this is how a man should be, and this. I feel like my son should experience what he wants to experience, but in the right way. But I feel like when I nurture my son in a certain way, he naturally becomes a man, what he should be.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I think little man, there's something wrong with your connection, bro. You keep cutting out. You keep cutting
Yeah,
out.
people are phoning me. I'm just gonna go on break for a little bit. 1 second.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
I don't think there's much more to say than that. It's just, yeah,
no.
if you're making a moral calculation based on some objective. His objective is having kids, human beings continuing to reproduce or whatever. My calculation is I don't care about that. That's not an issue. That's not a problem. We have too many people already. So, like you said, maybe that's part of. I mean, homosexuality is kind of weird in the sense that how can you evolve homosexuality? Because it's by it ends the evolution right there. You know what I'm saying? Like it can't be passed on. There's no homosexual gene, right? It seems like
It's just a pleasure. It's just really homosexuality is
it's not
just
that. I think that's
no.
a little
It
bit.
is because
No,
if you think about it, they're saying that they feel more pleasure with a man
no,
than
but
they
hold
would
on a
with a
second.
woman. It's not really about making
You're being
babies.
no. You're being reductionist here. It's
Okay,
not
go
like
on. Say.
I have a
Go on.
gay friend and he is married. I don't know, married or he has a long-term partner. It's not he wakes up, I'm sure he gives his partner a hug, kisses him. It's not just sex. I don't even know if they have sex. They've been together for so long. Maybe they don't even have sex anymore. Just like, married
Now,
couples sometimes don't have a
what
lot
I
of
mean
sex.
is
Hold on, let me
they are
finish.
attractive.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
Well,
Let me
man, hold
finish.
on, please.
Oh, sorry.
This is very reductionist. Being gay is not about only sex. Being straight is not about sex only. I want to have a relationship with a partner that loves me, that cares for me, that when I'm down, she will support me. In this case, it's she, because I'm not gay. But for some people, that's another guy. Or if it's a woman with another woman, it doesn't matter what that person is. It's not only about sex. Maybe they don't even have, maybe they have like a non-sexual relationship, but there's love. You can still love someone without wanting to. I mean, you'd probably want to sleep with them too. But what I'm saying is you can't reduce relationships. Just think about yourself in a relationship. Is it only about sex? If it's only about sex, then maybe you're projecting that onto gays, because with gay people it's the same as with straight people. It's just that they're not attracted to the opposite sex, they're attracted to the same sex. And yes, I'm sure they want to have sex too, but it's more than that. It's a relationship, it's a love, it's bonding, it's spending time together, it's going for walks together, it's watching movies together, it's maybe even raising kids together. Now, of course, there's some, we can debate about whether that's bad or good. I don't, it's gone again.
Yeah. I think he's
What
still
I think,
listening, though. He's still
you know
listening.
what I
So
think is
yeah.
happening here? I think what's happening here is there's some like leftover remnants of like cultural values that's not going
Yeah.
away here. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's coming, I think, again, it's coming from the biology, because the biology is, making him maybe feel that, maybe this is not a good thing or something, but it's not like that, right? It's like, it doesn't
Yeah. No.
matter.
That I know you mean, and a lot of people struggle with that as well, just to kind of
Yeah.
make ends and tails of this. But so I was just reading the comments. Did you say you got banned from TikTok? I was enjoying your videos on TikTok, man.
Yep.
Wow,
So
wow.
what happened was this is a funny thing. So I was doing great on TikTok. I had over 5,000, I don't know, whatever you call it, followers or whatever. I had a million, I was getting over 1 million views per month, which is 3 times as much as my YouTube. But again, views are different on TikTok because they're like shorter views, whereas on YouTube, my videos are like 10-minute long or whatever. Right? So I was getting a million views. I was doing well. People were enjoying my content. I was responding to Muslims. And from time to time, I would get flagged. Most of the time, hate speech. I would appeal it. They would put it back. I would appeal it. They would put it back. I would appeal it. It kept happening. Then I got kind of bored of TikTok. I'm like, this is annoying. I'm not gonna do it. And I stopped making videos.
Okay.
And then Ramadan came, I just made one TikTok. I'm like, Ramadan is dumb or something. I'm like, it's no good for you. You're fasting all day and you're hungry and you get tired. And I don't like Ramadan. I don't know, something like that, right? And I got
Right.
banned, permanently banned for that, just
What?
for saying I don't like Ramadan. Like I could be a Muslim saying I don't like fasting, and I would get banned. It's like, but I think I was fault. I think I was probably
Really?
flagged.
Were you banned? Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got banned on
See, I don't
TikTok.
use any of these like platforms. I'm still in the dark ages. New Nomad knows me. I'm not on Facebook. I don't know what TikTok is. I don't know any of these things. But you being banned just saying because like something is bad. Like what's wow.
Yeah, it's not.
TikTok is a Chinese company, isn't it?
No. It's not. It's not TikTok's fault. I'll explain to you what's
Okay,
happening here.
okay, explain it to me.
So, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of these companies, all they care about is keeping people on the platform. For TikTok, their bread and butter is dancing, people dancing, right? And most of the views, the vast majority is these things. Now, of course, after that, there's also people cooking and there's people making little videos on talking about stuff. There's a lot of cool things on TikTok. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, all they care about is keeping the viewers on there and keeping people happy. And the system is too easy to manipulate. And so the mass flagging basically got me. Coco Jasmine is saying TikTok is heavily left leaning. Yeah, because they don't have patience for this nonsense, like what they call nonsense. Okay, I'm bashing religion. People are complaining. They don't have patience for that because they don't care, because they have enough of stuff, right? So they don't
That's
need
it.
people
Yeah.
like me on there. So that they don't care. They just kick you off, right? If you do now, YouTube, I'm so grateful that YouTube, even though it's heavily left leaning as well, I've managed to survive all this time on YouTube. Yes, my old channel got demonetized permanently, and there's no way to fix that. So I created a new channel. But
Right.
still, YouTube, I appreciate YouTube. Like, look, we're having these like serious conversations, and so far nothing's happened. I used to have live streams on TikTok. In the middle of a live stream, I would get cut off for copyright strike. It happened 2 or 3 times. Somehow
Wow.
they claimed a copyright strike against, and it's just me talking. Like, obviously there's no copyright. It's just me talking. It's like, what copyright of what? Like, it's not like a music video or something. There's no music. It's just like, so yeah, unfortunately Muslims are a little bit too good at mass flagging and kicking us off. So Coco Jasmine saying I should go back on TikTok. The thing is, you have to remember that there's an opportunity cost.
Yeah.
Right now I'm taking 2 hours of my time to come on your channel because
Right.
you're my friend.
Yeah.
And I like talking about this, and I'm getting some exposure, which is good. But at the end of the day, I want to help you to build your channel because I think you're doing a good job, and I want you to succeed in this community, which I do not have access to. I don't have the same
Right.
access to the Somali community that you do. And
Right.
you're Somali, you know the stuff that goes on there better than I do. So that's why I want to support you. If I'm on TikTok, that 2 hours goes there and then I get banned again. Then again, I have to start from scratch. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's a
It's
waste
not
of.
like I'm a nobody. I have like successful channel that I'm running. So I
Mhm.
want to work on that. I'd rather work on that than start again from scratch every time. That's
Mhm.
and like Abdullah Gondal, he got kicked off Twitter. He kind of like doesn't give a shit. He doesn't want to come back. He's like, if you're gonna ban me, then I'm just not gonna come back. Screw you guys. I kind
Yeah.
of feel like that too.
Right.
You guys ban me. Screw you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna use your platform.
Yeah.
Let your platform die. Well, like I'll use platforms that will have me on this. So
Yeah.
that's kind of yeah.
Abdullah, you made a claim that we know what's going on in the Somali community. Nobody knows what's going on.
Nobody has no idea what the hell's going on in the Somali.
You find out someone, please, we'll pay you. Let us know. Yeah.
That's funny. No, but I mean, this is a enjoyable conversation because I think it always comes back. And I've been on Clubhouse lately, Abdullah, and I think I seen on one of the rooms as of late. But I've been there, and the kind of conversation that go on there is hilarious at times, and sometimes a bit scary. To be honest with you, because you will have people literally saying, things as if they're living in 7th century Arabia, and kind of say this is the objective way of doing this. And then I'm like, how do you know? And then they say God told us. And I'm like, well, he didn't tell me that. Like, I didn't speak to God. So did you? And it kind of, it's so weird to see like the clash of mentalities and so I don't, I've been on there and I've been flabbergasted most of the time. GMH, you've been on there as well, and you can see there are good conversations happening, but at the same time, you can see like the gap sometimes between the same people.
Yeah, I have been there. Well, the only thing that really now gets me, it's like I don't like to be an extremist. Like what I mean by extremist, I don't like just picking on people for the sake of picking on people. You know, like so I would go to some rooms and I find like a lot of people that I respect, but it's just like people who are like getting like it feels like a battle, you know, like you know, like those old like Arabian battles where like people are like just on this side and that side, and it mentally tires me. So I like get off. I try to be in places where like there would be a productive conversation where we would like exchange like ideas and things, and even if I'm like not really being like provocative for the sake of provocatory, I would just like exchange information, and I find those things really helpful. And like I said, I have never been on these platforms, so I'm afraid now that I'll be addicted to Clubhouse, like people are addicted to Facebook or something. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's really interesting to see how people are thinking and how people are like wrestling with these questions, because I think humanity has been wrestling with these questions since the
The
start.
dawn of time, yeah, the dawn of
And
time. So
it's nice to like. I mean, I would have never met Abdullah. You know, like I don't Abdullah. You're like successful apparently, but I don't know who you are even now. Now I know who you are. I'll be like looking at your videos and stuff. So it's great to meet people like you. And
yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Abdullah, I wanted to go you to weigh in on Buhul's finest here. His comment: how do you guys explain Muhammad Hijab and company going into philosophy on YouTube and using philosophical terminologies for ideological purposes? I think that's a great question.
Anyone else want to go first, or should I go?
Can I go, Hussein?
Go ahead.
Okay,
go
hold
ahead.
on. If you're going to talk about homosexuality, you have to wait.
No, I'll stop with that. I think we need to talk about that privately, because I think I've got a lot of questions and I'll go overboard sometimes. I'm really sorry.
No, it's good. The reason I wanted to talk about that is because I think it's worth talking about, because there's other people that think the same way. So
yeah,
it's good to air out those thoughts. I mean, it makes it more interesting. Otherwise, I'm just here talking about myself, and that's not fun, right?
No, it's true. It's true.
Well, you're actually
I mean,
you're actually in the same area as Muhammad Hijab and peeps like that in Speaker's Corner. So what do you think? How they approach it? What are your thoughts?
I wanted to Nomad, before you go on to that, yeah, I wanted to ask you, did you see the video of Muhammad Hijab and their friend? You know, the guy I was telling you about, where he was meant to give dawah to a mother and a daughter, but then he ended up giving them dawah, but he ended up getting them drunk and fucking them.
What?
And he's Muhammad Dawah's, you know, the guy that says, "Who wants it with the Muslims?"
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't
Who
seen
wants
the
it with the
video.
Muslims? That guy.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
That guy went to a college around the corner from my house, William Morris. Everyone knows him.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy actually was meant to give dawah to a mother and her daughter that came there for dawah, trying to find guidance.
What's his name?
And he ended up getting them drunk.
It was what was it?
Muhammad Taweed or something?
Yeah, Muhammad Tawheed.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Muhammad Taweed. So the other day, one of the Muslim brothers was trying to confront him, and you saw the way he was going away, he's talking about, I want to fight.
Oh no, I did not see that, man. I stopped
You didn't
watching.
see it. I'm gonna I think it's on Somali speakers. I think it's on that video.
No, I have not seen that.
But yeah, in terms of Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa, I think Ali Dawa is genuine to a certain extent.
Okay.
But I think Hijab knows exactly what he's doing.
Abdullah, you can't contain yourself.
Calculated man.
Right.
The very, very calculated. You can see in the way he uses words, his terminologies, the way he speaks. There's a way that they speak as well. Like if I want to get you emotional in Islam, is all you have. Like there's a way that you speak. I think Ali Dawa tries his hardest, because you know Ali Dawa, at the end of the day, his dad doesn't allow him to pray in his house.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can see where Ali Dawa like, I don't know. Ali Dawa is a bit more genuine than they are.
The problem with Ali Dawa is he how do I say this? He denies us the right to self-identify as ex-Muslim. He says you are all fake ex-Muslims. You guys were never Muslim. So what kind of, I don't see that. I mean, I don't think that's honest to say that to people. If someone tells me I used to be Muslim and I became Christian, I'd be like, okay, you're not. I wouldn't say you're a fake Muslim. You never were Muslim or something. Or if someone said I used to be atheist and I became Muslim, I wouldn't say, oh, you're a fake atheist. You were never atheist. Like what is that? Like, give me a break. Obviously, there are all sorts of types of Muslims out there. There are Muslims that don't pray, Muslims that don't fast. There's Muslims that don't read Surah Fatiha properly. Okay, does that mean they're not Muslim? They're still Muslim. They still believe in Allah. They still consider themselves Muslim. They still think that if they die, they're going to go to paradise. They believe in paradise and hell. They're just shitty Muslims, but they're still Muslim. So now if these people leave Islam, what are you saying? Then they were never Muslim. Now suddenly they're never Muslim, right? But if you met them on the street as a Muslim, you wouldn't say, "Ya kafir, get out of my mosque, ya kafir." Like they treat them like Muslims while they're Muslim. But when they leave Islam, now they're fake ex-Muslims. So I don't know I don't like to judge people's sincerity or insincerity because we don't know that. And Islam also teaches the same thing, that you don't cut open people's hearts, Muhammad said, and try to judge. So Ali Dawah shouldn't even be doing that. He shouldn't be judging people saying they're not Muslim. That's stupid. They weren't Muslim. Of course, he would only say that once they leave Islam. Before that, he would say, "Yeah, salam alaikum, brother. How's it going? Nice to see you. Come on, let's go for chai or whatever, right? Shisha, whatever." But the thing is, Muhammad Hijab, to answer the question, if Muhammad Hijab's using philosophy, then we need to use philosophy too to counter him. If he's making good arguments, well, if we don't know philosophy, we're screwed, because you need to respond at the same level as he's responding to. So this is where we need to grow as a community, and we need someone from our side. We need a Hamza Swetis, an ex-Muslim Hamza Swetis. We need an ex-Muslim Muhammad Hijab. I mean, Muhammad Hijab is like a bully, right? I mean, he bullied.
Yeah, he really is. He really is.
He's a complete bully. He's a complete bully. He made this disgusting post saying to my wife, "Hey, why don't you leave him? I'll find you a Muslim man from Vancouver." And I don't know why Vancouver. We're in Toronto.
Wow.
Yeah, but he did this on Facebook.
I'm sure you can find hadiths and Quran verses that go against what he's saying.
Well, you see what he's doing is, you know what they do. They say, well, I mean, I can't really talk about my wife, but they say a Muslim woman is not supposed to be with a Muslim man, right? So they're thinking she's Muslim, so she should be with a Muslim man, and my marriage is invalid. That's what they're saying, right? Do you understand where it's coming from?
Yeah.
That's where it's coming from.
Yeah. So okay, but that is so like, it's so bad, like manners, like in terms of just human decency.
It's disgusting. He got in trouble with Muslims too, because what happened was, he believes, he doesn't agree with the hadith about adult suckling. Do you know about this?
Yes.
Do you guys know what happened? Okay, I'll just tell people what happened.
No, I don't know. Educate me, please.
Okay. Yeah, this is funny.
Okay.
So there are some Muslims that believe that there's a hadith that says that, okay, we all know when you suckle, you become related to that person, right? So there's a hadith that says that, I forget, one of the wives of the Prophet had like one of the companions coming and visiting her all the time, right? And she felt uncomfortable, so she asked the Prophet. The Prophet said, "Suckle him," right? So something weird like that, okay? And so some Muslims believe that, even I don't totally understand the dynamics of it, but it's very weird, because you're not allowed to show a man your body, but you can suckle him. So maybe they mean you express the milk in a cup or something. I don't know. But the hadith says suckle. It doesn't say give him milk, right?
Yeah.
And it's talking about an adult. Yeah. Because the hadith says he has a beard or something, like he's a grown-up, right?
Yeah,
it's so weird, right?
It's really weird,
so Muhammad Hijab was like against this. He said, no, you can't suckle an adult, right? Obviously, right? So some scholar, I forgot his name, some like big sheikh, he is attacking him on Twitter saying, why don't you get something like would your wife want to suckle me or something, like something?
Yeah. Let me suckle your wife, so it's no longer. Yeah.
He said something like that.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
He got in so much trouble for this, because I was laughing, because I'm like, yeah, now you guys get a taste of what we've been going through. You guys get Muhammad Hijab turning on you now, right?
Who's this Muhammad Hijab guy? Apparently, I'm out of the loop. You could tell I'm in a cave somewhere. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Yeah, so he apologized. He had to apologize after that, and he said, "I'm not going to come on Twitter anymore after this." He said, He said, "I'm taking some medicine that makes me hot tempered." Or
he
I
said
don't know.
that.
He made some excuse. He said, "I'm taking some drug that makes me like."
Who said that?
Oh my
Muhammad Hijab.
goodness.
Yeah, Muhammad Hijab is a popular preacher. He debated David
Speaker's
Boyd.
corner, yeah.
Speaker's corner type of guy that comes
Yeah.
and argues with people. He studies
No,
philosophy. He's a full-time da'i. He's part of Sapient Unit. He went from he's in Sapient Institute now. He was in Yaqeen before, I guess.
not to mention he's got the Arab look. That look that they're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a beard and all that. But you know what?
Yeah.
No, go on. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it's a very aggressive personality. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever think there is a mental health issue going on with some of these people?
I'm not going to comment on Muhammad Hijab because again, whatever I say is going to be recorded, and I'm just not. I have my opinion about him, what I think is going on with him. But
I don't mean a specific person, but people who like behave in these ways, or like, you think there are like some sort of like mental health issues? Because you could be religious, but like when you get to that level, it becomes a super weird thing. You know, like why would you go to the fetishes of the religion if you even want to like be like a proponent of a religion, you know?
Yeah, I think there's something going on there with some of these people.
Guys, just judging by the hadiths here, you can tell that when men in general, when men get power, something happens to their head. If they're not balanced, something happens to them where they, like for example, the men that made the hadith that you can sleep with a 16-year-old, obviously they wanted to sleep with 16-year-olds.
Oh, okay, so you're saying so they're just writing
it's
what
like,
they want to do.
It's like yeah, they get this ego. Like you can imagine Muhammad Hijab must be getting famous. He must be getting girls that are pretty, thinking
Muhammad
that he's
Hijab
very
is
religious.
Married. Yeah, he's married.
No, he's
right?
married, but I mean, even though he's married, do not think that this world, you don't have girls that are very religious, trying to be Muhammad Hijab's second wife. Or
I don't like to use these sort of arguments because these are not arguments, these are ad hominems. Honestly, let's talk about his arguments, not because the same thing is told to ex-Muslims. Oh, you guys are chasing. Like it's so funny. I had a comment left on my channel. I haven't watched. It was obviously an ex-Muslim or a supporter. He's like, I haven't watched this video yet, but I know you left Islam for pork, alcohol, drugs, women, and Zionist money. Like it's so funny because I get those comments. Yeah, never mind why he does it. Like, let's talk about what he's doing and how we can counter.
No, I was thinking of not him. I was thinking of a man's ego.
Okay, we can say that for sure. I mean, you can say the same thing for me too. I get high, or I get a dopamine hit from doing this because it's exciting, it's fun.
So do I.
Huh?
No, so do I. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, it's part of human nature to desire that. So I think for sure, what I would rather say is this: the difference between someone like that leaves Islam and talks about it and someone that stays Muslim is some of these Muslim preachers, they probably don't believe, but they're still doing it because they get money out of it, and they get like there's no reason for them to leave. Like Yasir Qadhi, I don't want to say he's an ex-Muslim or he's an atheist or he's a deist or he's not Muslim, but if he was, would he tell anybody?
That's it. His whole livelihood is attached to this, right?
No, I'm saying human nature, yeah. Do men conquer countries, religion, all of that? Is it not because of women?
That's one motivation for sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Is that one way, or is it the only way? Because if you think about even men, if you think about simple things like why men dress up good or want to look good, or is usually comes down to women, if we're being honest. Because
it's all about power, and power over other beings, and power over like societies and stuff. I think we reduce it to these like little human urges, but I think it's a bigger thing. Like it's money. It's like having.
But what is money and power without women? Let's say women weren't in this world.
Yeah.
What would power and money?
Yeah, I know. Little man,
including women. Let's include them. Like I guess
right,
you don't want to like it's bigger than just like one thing. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and that's why I'm like I agree with you, Abdullah. We shouldn't be like talking about people and their even mental health. But the reason I was saying mental health is like sometimes it's the brain and like where that person's head is at that time, including all of these other like pressures that are coming from society and all of these other needs. That's where I was
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Little man, how old are you?
I'm 32.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was thinking maybe you're in your 20s. That's why you were mentioning women a lot.
No, no. The reason why I mention that is just from experience, like what men fight over or what they try to
Yeah.
be cool over. Not even religion, just in general, just on roads or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
it's kind
just
of hard to say that about.
women.
It's kind
Why
of
they
hard to say
dress
that
up, why
about.
they spend so much money, why they want Louis or Gucci. It's all because of women, innit? Like not even religious. I'm just saying natural women, natural men. But I've seen men use religion to get women as well.
Yeah, for sure,
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
for
That's
sure.
one of the, as Muhammad said, that's one of the thing. What does he say? One of the fine things in life is perfume and women. So yeah, obviously
Nice.
that's Allah has made
So,
beloved women to men, right? So yeah,
yeah.
obviously that's part of the desire. Maybe I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say that
Yeah.
about Islamic preachers, but maybe yeah, sure.
So I wanted to ask this question, maybe, and see what you guys think. Is do you think there should be such a thing as objective morality? I just want to bring you guys back on topic. Do you believe there should be such a thing as objective morality? And do you think we'll ever get to that point, or do you think that's just a unreachable or unrealistic thing to ever happen?
I think that it's going to be difficult. The grounding issue in philosophy is it's always going to be there, right? Just like the hard problem of consciousness is always going to be there. You can't easily get an ought from an is. It's just like you can't. How do you jump that gap? Like so, my opinion is oh, it'll always be subjective. That's my opinion. But yeah, like Sam has attempted this. Maybe some people will find a way to make that jump. I'd
Make
personally
that jump,
say,
yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
And I,
Friendly ex-Muslim, can I ask you a question, please?
yeah. Please call me Abdullah.
No,
Thanks.
it's little man. Yeah, I was just asking. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you so much for sharing your time and being with us today. I like your background. I like your jumper. I like your smile. I was just asking, what would you advise ex-Muslims? That how would you advise them to navigate the world with family or like just in general, like because it's hard for us, so, for me anyway, to get along with family or to explain things to family. Just I love my family, and I would like to get along with. How would you advise someone to get navigate the world, basically being an ex-Muslim? You know how it is.
So this is a tough question. I mean, navigate the world is a bigger question. Specifically, navigate your family relationships. There's different people do different things. Some of my ex-Muslim friends never tell their family. They just don't tell them. One of my friends like broke up with his wife and he married another Muslim. She looks Muslim, but she's atheist like him. So she wears hijab around his family and stuff. So he just didn't want to tell his family. He didn't want them to. He didn't want his parents. He's in his 40s, and obviously his parents are like 70s or something. He doesn't want to hurt his family and make them sad or whatever. So what he did was he just kept it to himself, and that way he's able to talk to his brothers and sisters and still see his nephews and nieces. I know some people have done the opposite. They told their family members. I mean, in his case, his wife knows he's atheist because he married her as an atheist. Some people that are already in a relationship, what do they do? Now that's tricky as well. Personally, I think it's a very tough question, and you have to
It
try.
depends on the family dynamics too, right? Every situation is different, so it depends.
And like I said, I'm not part of the Somali community. What I've heard from Somalis is that Somali community is very religious. Um, and it's even more difficult. So I have a friend that's Somali, and he's, you know, always questioning Islam, and he even told me if I ever become ex-Muslim, I just won't tell anybody. Like, so that's okay, that's fine. It depends on your situation. Not everyone has to be like open about it. I know you want to tell them because you, that's what it means to be intimate, right? This is a secret. The secret intimacy means to show who you really are, and we all want that in life. We want intimate relationships with loved ones. I mean, imagine having to live your life pretending to be something that you're not. That's difficult. You're basically forced to be a two-faced, right? Like you're forced to be a munafiq, right? Because you can't tell them what
That's
you
it.
really believe. So maybe there's some strategies people can use, especially if you're in your 30s and you live on your own and you have that safety and security of not having to depend financially on them. Then maybe you can tell them little by little, drop some hints. Maybe you can try to experiment to see how it would go. You can say, one of my friends left Islam, and you know, I appreciate, and you actually praise him, say, I appreciate that he's honest about what he believes, and see what they say. I don't know, like there could be some, you know, some, but whatever you do, make it a very long-term goal. Don't expect them to accept you in like the short run. Think like, what would I do in 5 years? Like, how can I make this 5-year plan for them to know me, right? To know who I am. And maybe there's some things you can do. Like, you can start by saying, I don't want to pray anymore. You don't have
Hmm.
to say I'm not Muslim. I don't know. Like, it depends on your family situation. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and I think if I can add to that, it depends. And Abdullah, I just wanted to say, because you said that you see Somalis as being religious, I would disagree with that. Then they you know, community wise, I think because they see religiosity as something good, they like to outwardly project that. Most of the time what you'll find out is that they're just like anyone else, and they, you know, as there's some families that are more liberal, and there's some families that are more conservative, just like anyone else. But like to think that all like Somalis are religious, I would maybe push back a little bit on that, because that might just be the image that's outwardly being portrayed to a certain extent. But once you in the community, you kind of see it's just like anyone else, right? I'll still, you know what I mean? So I just wanted to do that correction. The other thing that I wanted to say is that depending on who your family is and what kind of relationship you have with them, you make those decisions. And you, like for myself, like my whole family knows, there's no qualms about it. But I've always been a outwardly speaking person. Like I would never really hide anything. The other thing also is that to do it with respect. I mean, respect is a huge thing, and not to, you know, rub it in their face, or just to kind of do it with respect. Like I'll still have you know, a prayer mat at my house, even though I don't pray. But you know, if my mom comes over or whatever, she can actually pray. And I don't have any. I gotta say that at the beginning, there's stages to this, right? At the beginning, I was enraged by it. I didn't want to do anything to do with Islam, and I would really, and it was this rage, right? But that subsides after you get to learn about it, and then you kind of come back and you reset to where you were. And it doesn't even offend me that much at this point. It's actually just fun talking about it. You know, once you're actually over, you can just actually just talk about it, right? And
Yeah.
it's so much fun. And so that's why I wanted to kind of discuss this whole morality thing. So Abdullah, I know you have to go. I really want to thank you for hopping on the stream with me today, and you know, helping my channel grow as well, and sharing the channel. I truly appreciate you for that. And thank you for your insight. And that hard-hitting video that you did, it's going to be one of my favorites, I think. And I'm going to look forward to the others. And if you want to do a plug, maybe you and Abdullah Gondal are going to be doing more of these series, and what's coming up for you. And maybe we can close off.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I believe it's going to be on Tuesday. We're going to be doing the Epileptic Prophet Part 2. Again, all the credit goes to Abdullah Gondal. I'm just hosting him, and I really support him and everything that he does, because he's doing an incredible job. We are
Right.
getting comments like, I'll just read one comment to you. Like one lady left a comment saying, I don't know whether to curse you guys or to thank you guys. I'm here shaking. Like, I've been Muslim my whole life, and I've never seen or heard anything like this before. And I am like, I don't know what to do, because my faith is shaken by what you guys have said. So this type of content, I think, is
Hmm.
so powerful, and it's so important, and it humanizes Muhammad. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't want to humanize Muhammad, but like, we need to humanize him. He was a human too.
Yeah.
What was going on with him, right? And it puts things in context. Like, you know, it's a people never consider that maybe there's something going on in his head, and this is like, Abdullah Gondal is obviously studying neuroscience as well. So this is, he's connecting the two parts of his life, his previous religious life with his studies, and he's able to come up with something that's incredible and valuable to the community. And I do hope we'll see all you guys there. It's going to be on Tuesday. Most likely we're going to have Dr. Ali Rizvi, another you can say
another
famous
Canadian.
yeah, from Toronto. Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
going to be there too. And thank you, John Stopman, for showing up. And thank you, everyone that came to the stream from my channel. Please do subscribe to this channel. We want to get them up to 1,000 subs so you guys can get some of those community posts and other things unlocked. Keep it up. And one recommendation is also make some clips of these shows and upload them to get more exposure on YouTube's algorithm.
That is that is a very good advice. And
it takes a lot of time. It's honestly,
it does.
It takes time, unfortunately. And sometimes even I have so many streams now, I can't even keep up with making clips anymore. So but try to find the time to make at least some of the best parts of the show. Just take like a 10-minute clip. Maybe for this one it would be like homosexuality. That was
you enjoyed that one, eh?
Yeah. I'm so grateful to like get to know you, Abdullah, and thank you, New Nomad.
Likewise.
Yeah. I'm really interested in these things, and like New Nomad said, and I'm a little bit maybe older than both of you, and I've been struggling with this for a very long time, and I think it's an interesting thing that you guys are doing. And all I would say is, like, I would reiterate what New Nomad said: everything with respect on love. Everything with respect on love. So
that's it. So again, thank you so much for joining us, Abdullah. Thank you, GMH, for joining us. Little man, thank you for hopping on the stream. Everybody in the chats, I thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, Somali Nimo till we demo. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.